TikTok time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. Your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D. Wood. And with me now is the inventor of the Talmudic dilemma and master of all things Talmud related, except for the pronunciations of certain words. So, guys, mine, never criticize someone for how he's pronouncing a word. It means he got it by reading.
Yeah, hold on. I got the course.
There
I'm
we got
going
it.
through it.
He's
I've
learning,
been
guys.
studying
He's learning.
Hebrew.
He's learning. He's learning.
It
Yeah,
is what it
guys.
is.
Guys, sorry I was a bit late. So yeah, the last live stream ran right up till 8 o'clock, and then so I had to grab water and stuff, and then I realized I didn't have the clips that we wanted to watch. I didn't have them on my computer, so I had to grab those clips and stuff like that. But we got them all. We got them now, and it's mainly one video from Sheikh Uthman. Now, you've watched the video. Oh, little before we jump into that, why don't you tell everyone about yourself and give everyone a quick recap of the Talmudic dilemma, which everyone should be sharing, guys. This is one of we've been running the Islamic dilemma and variations of it, and some other dilemmas. Talmudic dilemma, very interesting stuff. But go ahead and tell everyone about who you are, what you do on your channel, and about this argument. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna go grab your video and put it in the description box.
All right, sweet. My name is Chris Harvey. I've been doing apologetics for about 5 years now, about a year and a half on YouTube. And I've been a Christian for about 16 years. So I was an atheist, became a Christian from studying biology, specifically microbiology. And I am an engineer by trade. I do medical research. So I'm a big nerd, but I'm a
That's what I was thinking
trained
the whole time you were
academic.
talking. I was like, whoa, this guy sounded like a nerd here.
Yes, I am unfortunately a computer science nerd. So I know not just nerdy stuff, I know the geeky nerdy stuff.
Oh,
It's great.
hang on. That's interesting. So you said you started off in biology,
Mhm.
and then you're doing computer science.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought was really interesting. So before I was a philosophy major, I was a biology major, but by the time I realized, just because it was a required class and I had to take philosophy, and I was like, it was like this. It was like, I don't remember if it was the first day or second day or third day. I remember it was really early on, and my professor, I even remember the professor, but I was just like, this is what I'm really interested in. I like this. I like this way better. But I'd already done like a ton of the work for biology, so
Yeah.
so I did both. So I did a double major and stuff. But then I went into graduate school in philosophy, and when our third son was born, he had this rare genetic muscle disease. And if you map out the genome, which is, I don't know how many tons and tons of base pairs anymore. I used to
Yeah.
know, but tons and tons of base pairs. That's basically a set of coded information on how to build you, right? It's in
It's a
it's
single
in all your
word.
cells. Yeah, it's in all your
Yep.
cells, and it's a set of instructions for building you. And ladies and gentlemen, guess what? You are just the most complex structure we know of in the entire universe. And inside each one of your cells is a complete set of instructions for building you. And anyway, the genetic muscle disease my son had, it's caused by one base pair being off,
Point mutation.
one
Yeah.
letter in that complete set of, guys, imagine an entire library of instructions for building you, and there's one typo on one page, and your muscles don't work anymore. And so anyway, I
hmm
became sort of fascinated with like coded information. And so I looked into something like for after philosophy to maybe kind of get back into biology a little bit. And I looked up bioinformatics, right? It's like the study of
Yeah, I work with a
genetic,
bunch of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
genetic information. And what I
hmm
found really fascinating when I went and looked up the required courses and stuff, because like, maybe I'll just start taking courses or something like that. You were required to take, as part of bioinformatics, 2 years of computer science, computer programming,
Mm-hmm.
computer science, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They said because it's easier to
It's the
learn
same.
with computers than apply it to biology. I'm thinking, how
Right.
can people deny that this is designed? In order to
Yeah.
even study the human genome, you have to learn computer science to kind of bridge, to kind of prepare the way for you even to understand what's going on there. I thought that was fascinating. I never went through with it and stuff like that, but because I ended up going after Islam. Thanks,
Mm-hmm.
Islam, ruined that. But I always thought that was super. I thought that was super interesting. But anyway, but then you were saying you did both biology and then the computer science. So yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take it from there.
So
I just wanted to-
I've merged the worlds too. I've done genetic projects. So I worked on a international project with a bunch of like Scandinavians and Russians and Italians and like just people all over the world. And we're working on protein folding and protein docking simulated via machine learning. So I've done
sorry.
a lot of stuff with that.
I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but that's the issue. Having one letter off in the
Yeah.
instructions for building the protein called myotubularin. Myotubularin, guys, your muscle cells are long and thin, and signals run down the center of them. So you have these fibers called myotubules, and they pull the nucleus to the side to move so that signals can run down the middle of the cells. Well, if you have what's called myotubular myopathy, which is off one letter in the instructions, the myotubules don't form properly, and so the nucleus remains in the middle of the cell and it blocks the signal. So your muscles don't work and stuff like that. So anyway, we're talking about folding, but yeah, the one letter of difference causes the protein to fold the wrong way. And then it doesn't perform its function and stuff like that. And so anyway, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting. You're just saying
it's
some very
insane.
interesting
Yeah.
stuff here, man.
It
Sorry.
is, yeah. I'll eventually make some content on biology, and like abiogenesis, and that was a bit of my studying. And that's actually what got me away from atheism was studying abiogenesis and macroevolution, and even just how like the sheer complexity of the cell. Because the cell, people don't
Oh, yeah.
realize, like the cell is much more complex than like New York City's grid. Like it's insane. Like it's a bunch of little robots all over your body doing billions of operations per second. And relative to body size, they're basically traveling like Mach 2 inside of your body. And like every step they take is like a kilometer if they were the same size as us. So they're traveling at insane breakneck speeds, giving all of these macronutrients all over the body to do exactly what they need to do when they need to do with the exact amount of ATP binding and energy release. And like they fine tune every single operation within your body to such an extreme degree that a single little hiccup will throw the whole system out of whack. As you were mentioning earlier, but like your body also has systems to fix itself. And how in the world does it know how to fix itself if it's random, if it doesn't have instructions, if there's not something intelligent baked into the cake? So I went down a whole long rabbit hole with that, and abiogenesis was the big one for me. I just straight up don't think it's possible. That is my opinion studying it for a couple of years. I just
agree.
don't think it's possible. So I would lean towards a designer being required for life to exist on any planet, let alone this planet. And then also the fine tuning of the universe and the uniqueness of the solar system, and all those arguments. I'll eventually make content on that. I have like a 2-hour rant in one of my live streams. I just ranting about the complexity of biology because there's an atheist in my chat. But anyway, that's a bit of my background. I then studied evolution and genetics a decent bit, got into a little bit of electrical engineering and plasma physics, ended up in computer science, and now I do electrophysiology research, which is kind of a combination of all of those because it's the electrical activities of the heart using machine learning and AI and a lot of signal processing things that I've invented. So I've actually like invented some of the best filters in the world for ECG data, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, that's my boring day job.
Yeah, that is interesting, and especially with the cell, like and you know this and I posted this. I just posted this a couple days ago when people like put up an image of like the workings of a cell and so on. So they came up with like the most accurate video of what's going on in a cell and so on. I posted that, and I pointed out that when certain scientists decided, hey, this can just happen on its own. They found out that you can get certain molecules that are important for life by some natural process and so on. But they thought that a human cell was extremely simple and that it's sort of the combination of all
Blob.
these cells that gets a much more complex, like a something like you. But they
Right.
thought that a
Like
little
atoms.
cell, yeah, a little cell is just a little blob of protoplasm, and it's like a brick, and you just put them together, and you can get this awesome structure and so on. So they thought, hey, if you could just get that simple, easy cell, little blob of protoplasm, no problem. Then it can get more and more. It can, you can get more and more complex structures and so on. And so they decided to see, we can explain all this naturalistically. And then they find out more and more and more about the cell, and now we know, as Chris was just pointing out, it's like they're like little cities. They're like cities in there, and they're talking every one of the trillions of
Yeah.
cells in your
Yeah.
body. They're like little cities. You have trillions of basically little cities within you, and
That
so
communicate across your body. So it's like multiple, like when you think about the size of your cells versus the size of your body and compare it to like planets, it's like someone in Pluto talking to someone in Mercury, and it happens instantly. Like they travel insanely quickly just from one section to the next section. It's so mind-boggling that a deficiency in your brain can trigger something inside of one of your organs to then, like, through the pituitary gland, which someone didn't know about, even though he went to medical school, and it triggers these hormones and it releases, and it just fixes it instantly. It knows exactly how to respond to any stimuli inside your body, and it's happening in real time. And then even epigenetics is insane. It's literally reprogramming your body in real time based on the stimuli that you're actively experiencing. So it will change what proteins are being produced in real time to deal with whatever you have. So proteins can be formed from a variety of different amino base pairs, amino acid base pairs, where you can have a variety of different combinations and mixtures, and then even the proteins themselves through those chains can conform. It's called conformational change. They can change shape. The changing of the shape changes function, and it changes instantly exactly what it needs, where it needs it, then sends it, and then it does its job. Then you continue to live. And all of that is happening so fast that every animation you see online is actually a slowed down version of it, so your eyes can comprehend what's happening. Like, have you ever seen in real time transcription of tRNA to DNA or any of the other types of transcriptions? If you watch real time transcription, you won't even be able to distinguish between the different base pairs as they're flying off of the thing, as
yeah,
the motor's going down.
and
Like,
guys, just
insane.
the terminology started started impressing me. Transcription, what is that? that's That's
Yeah,
that's
it's linguistic too.
copying the
Yeah.
message, and then you have translation. Why? Because you're
Hmm.
translating it into another language. DNA is in one language, proteins are in another language. You have molecules translating the coded information. It's like you had a set of
And
instructions
fixing
in
it if there's an error
Japanese or
while
something
they're
like
doing
that.
it. Yeah.
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 It's really amazing. And look, little side note there, because when I give my testimony and I talk about how I was in a cell and like three things that started bothering me. So one of them was like there was actually evidence for Jesus' resurrection, which I thought as soon as I was looking at it there was going to be none there. It turns out, oh, it was there.
There's a lot.
It's a lot. So there's that, and then a weird kind of moral argument, and one of them was a kind of a design argument, but I describe it and I just say, I started looking at the bricks stacked up in the cell, and I started to think, if someone told me these bricks went into this order just by any sort of natural process or something like that, I'd smack them in the mouth. And yet I believe that life formed on its own, and life is massively more sophisticated than like bricks on the wall. So I explain it like that just because that's kind of easy. That's kind of an easy way to describe it. But in reality, it was something more. It was like I was thinking, you've got all these bricks stacked up, but so one, you have that they went into this order and it looks designed. I mean, obviously, a jail is designed and so on, but it was more along the lines, and then thinking of life, and it was just like all the way back to the Big Bang. And I was just, wait a minute. So before all of this was actual, I didn't know the terminology for potentiality and actuality, right? Act and potency. Potency is like, something that can be something else, and actuality is when it is that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, because before that, I was reading Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time and so on, when he's talking about black holes and all this stuff, and the Big Bang, and And I read this book called Black Holes and Warped Space-Time and so on. So I'm reading this stuff, but the way again, now I actually understand there are philosophical terms to describe this. But before any of this was actual, it was all in potency. And so you go all the way back to the singularity, and this singularity somehow contains all of this,
All of actuality.
but
Yeah.
it's potential. It's potential. It hasn't happened yet, but there is the potential for making us, for making the cells, for every thought you've ever had, and so on. It was all there, and it's just like that's more like an idea, right? That's more like an idea of everything, and then it gets actualized. So the
Which
idea
speaks to
that
a
one
mind
that
and a will.
that's what I mean. It's like it started
Yeah.
sounding like God, not like, some tiny little thing.
Right.
And so
Right.
yeah, anyway, so but yeah, it's harder to explain to people, so I just give like the simple version, but in reality it was everything around me that's just boggling my mind once I start thinking in terms of design, and yet all of this was contained as like an idea before anything ever happened, and that started making me think a bit.
Yeah. Ironically, in my testimony video, which I put out a couple months after your testimony video, I mentioned your testimony video with the bricks. Never realizing that we were going to meet or talk or do any of this. I was just like, it was kind of like that. I had a similar experience to you. So I mentioned that in my testimony video and how I came to Christ with microbiology. So full circle.
All right, so that's kind of your background there. Now for
Yes.
this
Okay.
Talmudic
Talmudic.
dilemma that we've all been hearing so much about. So kind of
Yes.
what got you interested in this, and then give people like the general gist, and then we will jump into Sheikh Uthman's new video. So his new video, I have not seen the new video, guys. I downloaded it. Chris watched it. And he's for some reason giggling about it. But we actually went through a Sheikh Uthman video that was from a couple years ago, where he tried to explain that Rebekah was 3 years old, and he tried to do the math, and it was just like we caught him right in the lie. They lie. He knew he was lying. You could tell because for every other thing he was giving a source, and then all of a sudden he just says something and moves on, because you need it. You need the made up thing that people make up, and you need.
He lies about the sources this time.
Oh, good. Now he's lying about the sources. So good to know. Good to know. So you're saying he's like we called him for his old lies, and you're saying he came
has
up
new
with a more
lies that are still just
sophisticated
lies.
case based on more lies. All right, good to know. Good to know. But
I
we're gonna be checking that
counted
out.
like 15 in the first 2 minutes. So we're gonna be pausing a lot early on. And then I got sick of counting. So then I asked AI, I grabbed his transcript and it's like, hey, how many errors, lies, or misrepresentations is he doing in this video? And it counted 74 in 18 minutes and 45 seconds. So that's about 3.95 errors per minute that he was doing. Either fallacies, lies, misconceptions. At one point, he just straight up calls the Torah the Talmud, which is it's a good video.
To be fair, he's just imitating his prophet here, right? His prophet couldn't tell the difference either. So good to know. I mean, imagine that. Well, my prophet couldn't tell the difference between the Torah and the Talmud, so neither can I, and I'll just call them the same thing. By the way, that might be no, I'm not saying that might be. That would be a good video for you to make if you're actually like you put. And I'm saying this because Nabil did this years ago with a Zakir Naik video. It was a 5-minute. It was a 5-minute Zakir Naik clip. And Nabil did a video, 25 errors in 5 minutes, right? He went through all these that's where it's like, because you find out when you do this that Zakir Naik just makes stuff up because he knows his audience. He knows they don't know anything. They have no idea what he's talking about. And so he said, and this was Professor Whitemeat, Dr. Whitemeat, who said this. And Nabil's just like, pause. There is no Dr. Whitemeat who has anything to do with anything. But he just kept doing that. Point is, that was hilarious. People like the number. So if you put Sheikh Uthman tells 74 lies in whatever 15 minutes to whatever he's trying to accomplish to prove the age of Rebekah or something like that, I think that would do well. And you just point out all the lies, but do it like rapid fire. So he says this, actually it's this. He says this, but actually it's this. That would do well, man. That would do well. That would do well. And we would all share that. We would all share such a video if it were to be made.
Okay. Jack Ray mentioned that my streams are far more goofy, and we talk about things like goat booty pageants, beauty pageants. So, on my streams, we get into some very strange topics. And it was funny. Ash on the stream the other day, he's like, I watch your streams from time to time, and I always thought I just come in at the weird times. And then I watched for like an hour today, and I realized that the whole stream's weird. So my streams are kind of off the wall sometimes. Anyway, Talmud dilemma. The Talmud dilemma is basically the Quran is overwhelmingly stolen and plagiarized, or at least borrowing and using as proof text and as source text, rabbinic and Christian myth and metaphors and allusions and basically children's like folk tales, like bedtime stories. It's using essentially bedtime stories as if it's true, and it uses that for the foundation of the Quran and the Hadith and the Sirah and the Tafsir. So all of Islam is based mostly on Jewish rabbinic stories that are not true, and many of them which we can like prove are not true. And then it's also based on like random Christian things like the Syriac Alexander legend and the infancy gospel of James, which we'll talk about in this video or in this stream in his video, and then also the other infancy gospels and like the pseudo gospel of Matthew. And like there's a lot of sources that it's pulling from, mostly like Jacob Sarug because he's the big Christian source. But you have a bunch of Christian sources and then an overwhelming amount of rabbinic sources, and all of the sources it's pulling from, other than two, are post-dating Jesus. Right whenever Muhammad said there was no prophet between Jesus and him in Sahih Bukhari, and I believe in Muslim also narrates it. So there is no prophet between Jesus and Muhammad, yet prophets are required to reveal binding wahi, like for communities. So if there is no prophet, you can't have those type of narratives or stories. And the guys who are coming up with these stories are living, 1,000+ years after like Abraham. So how could they have known what happened then? And the oral tradition itself doesn't go back. But if you say that the oral tradition is the authority, that has issues as well, because there's theological differences between the rabbinic stuff and Islam. So you actually run into an Islamic dilemma. If you affirm the Talmud as literal truth from Allah, you actually run into an Islamic dilemma with the Talmud, which is really funny. And then if you don't affirm it as from Allah, then you have human man-made errors being presented as truth within the Quran and the Hadith and the Tafsir and the Sirah. So you have a lot of problems in any of the way you slice it, and you can formulate it in a couple different dilemmas. And you can also make a Bayesian argument against it for an inference, the best explanation of, is the Quran man-made or is it God-made? And the inference is overwhelmingly more likely for it to be man-made.
Massively.
Using not just massively, like it was 1,000,000 to 1 ratio. So the Bayesian probability was about 10 to the 6th. And that wasn't even counting like a severe, because I was like more like as charitable as I could be to Islam. But if you want to be like severe with all the categories, it gets into like 10 billion to 1, which is kind of fun. But I wanted to at least make it like not as arguable for the Muslims. So if I'm being charitable, then the Muslims can't be like, oh, you're just being biased. I'm like, I'm presenting your sources. I'm presenting the test that your sources give. I'm showing that your sources fail these tests and that it's all man-made to begin with. So, bunch of problems there. But that's pretty much the Talmud dilemma.
Hey, check this out. Hang on. First of all, and this is actually a good suggestion. Zachary Lincoln says, or 3.9 lies per minute, and for about 18 minutes would be better. Yeah, if you titled it Sheikh Uthman lies 3.9 times per minute, the proof or something like that, and then you just your video is showing him just lie at 3 point. You add up all the lies rapid fire, and then now you do the math, Okay, we take this number of minutes and we divide it, and then I'm saying that would be good, man. That would be good. That would be what's called YouTube
of the last
Gold.
stream for this week, which is gonna be pretty base. It's gonna be 30 minutes. We kind of went off the rails last stream. including like, oh, what would you do for $60 million to a camel? And so we're putting out a meme edit of that this week, but I could also probably make that video and just put both of them out.
Yeah, no, that would be good. That'd be again, especially because Nabil's video is like really short and shareable, but super rapid fire. Boom, he said this wrong. Boom, he said this wrong. Boom, he said this wrong. But he had like that ant popping up on the screen. Super effective, man. Super effective. Hey, check this out, though. Check this out. Now, to bridge, that's the Talmudic dilemma, guys. I have a link to Chris's video on the Talmudic dilemma in the description. You want to watch that, like that, and share that. Not right now, but afterwards. And to bridge over to Sheikh Uthman's case, check this out. So we got our Muslim friend here, Fairu22, who says, Rebekah was 3 years old when marrying 40-year-old Isaac. Jewish rabbis would certainly agree on that. No need for Christian opinions. And then the follow-up. Rebekah was 3 years old when she married 40-year-old Isaac, according to prominent Old Testament scholars, Rabbi Rashi, Rabbi Tobiah ben Eliezer, and many more. So when Fairu says here, Jewish rabbis would certainly agree on that. Is Fairu correct? Jewish rabbis would agree.
Some of them, but the vast majority of them no. Including
vast majority of them no.
as well. They're showing them like the generation of Rashi. A bunch of them criticized his work, and even put like Ibn Ezra. Like he was like, hey, no, that's stupid. Why would you can't say a 3-year-old was able to water 10 camels? So his contemporaries called him dumb for saying that she was 3, and they also appealed to the same source. So the source that he's pulling from to get 3 is Seder Olam Rabbah. That says that Rebekah was 14 when she married Isaac, and in parentheses it has some say 3. Or possibly 3, I think is the actual wording there, because it's just the gematria there. So he took the lesser reading of Seder Olam Rabbah for Rashi, because Rashi is this is actually going to get into what Uthman said in the video too, because he made a false claim about Rashi.
I wanted to kind of preempt it, but I also wanted to toss it out to Fairu. Basically, Fairu, why would you say that Jewish rabbis would agree on that and simultaneously treat that as decisive when in reality it's a tiny minority of Jewish rabbis who said this, and they're, I would say, obviously wrong. And you'd never get that by reading the text. You'd never in a million years conclude that Rebekah was 3 by reading the description of Rebekah there. And so my question for you is, where'd you get the idea that Jewish rabbis just agree on this? I already know the answer. You got it from watching Dawa videos. So the question for you, Fairu, is one, I want you to continue watching, and then I want you to revisit the issue at the end. After Chris has gone through the problems with what Sheikh Uthman is saying, and Ashmay is going to be joining us later. But after that, I want you to again try to tell us that, one, that Jewish rabbis agree she was 3, right? That's the consensus. And 2, that we should go along with this consensus because it's correct, as you're claiming here. We don't need Christian opinions. We've got the Jewish rabbis in the Talmud talking thousands of years after this thing happened. And I want you to think about where you got this idea, and you got it from people like Sheikh Uthman. And I want you to then, after we've gone through everything, tell us if you still adhere to this statement, if you still agree with this statement. And if you do, that's going to tell us everything we need to know about you as a person. That's going to tell us something about you. All right, so let's check out these first couple super chats, and then we're going to watch a short video from Sheikh Uthman, because we're going to show some total hypocrisy from this epic, chronic, compulsive liar. So we have Dawa Troll, nerd, but not Mike Winger nerd, so that's okay. Yeah, there's nerd, and then there's like evil nerd. Those are 2 different things. Late vid Wood here to show us the proof. Yep. Oh, you're going to get the proof, ladies and gentlemen. And we,
Ironically, last week or 2 weeks ago, I actually had you start exactly on time because I was here and you were ready.
mhm.
And now this week we're like 20 minutes late. So it's
Yep.
the dichotomy there.
I blame Chris Claus and Thaddeus of Reasoned
There you go.
Answers. They made me late. I couldn't help it. They bullied me and made me late. And now we know Darth Nerd is David Wood. Hey, just because I know a couple nerdy things doesn't make me a nerd. Sometimes you learn some nerd stuff to make fun of nerds, right? You can make fun of nerds more effectively if you learn a little bit of nerd stuff. Guy on the right is Winger Nerd. Oh, hi, David. This is just people are sad. Learning new things about design is priceless. Thank you. Hey, yeah. Since you know about this stuff, maybe we should do a show on one. Look at some video clips and stuff like that, and talk about this stuff. Rebekah's 3. You see, proof of Trinity is possible. SETI, that's the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, applies Zipf's law to signals if they came from an intelligent source. It detects grammar structures, dolphin squeaks, programming languages, or any grammar. Applying it to DNA is on my to-do list. That's a good one. D. Wood, did you manage to eat din din between live streams? I did not, but I refilled my cup. Biomechanics defeats evolution, for example, eyes.
Or even just bird feathers. Bird feathers don't make any sense.
Are there parallel universes? Why or why not? Well,
I would say no.
I would say there could be. You just don't have any reason to think that there are. I mean, if you have an omnipotent creator, for all I know, God has made a billion universes. I wouldn't know, but
That's true.
we only have access to the one that we actually are aware of. Cute dog, we are getting a Bernese puppy on May 29th. For names, we are thinking Poncho, Bandit, or Otto, short for Otto von Bismarck. You could go with
Bismarck.
Momo. Oh, Bismarck. Oh, I get it. Bismarck.
That's cute.
If we get into microbio, we need Dr. Tor on panel. Dr. Tor is actually
That'd be cool.
friends with Nabil. Zucker is just D.2.0, same brainless script. Yeah, and same thing. It's, guys, Dawa is
He's
basically...
his student, right? Zucker's his student.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you can see,
Yep.
like, some of them you can actually play. He, like, completely memorized
Exactly what he
D-Dot's
said.
response
Yeah.
to something like the word for word in some cases, and it's just sad and pathetic. But yeah, no, there are pictures of Zakir Naik there taking notes and making little note cards and stuff like this to memorize so he could be the next D-Dot. But yeah, Dawa, guys, it's what Dawa is in reality, and from at least from the time of D-Dot on. I haven't like followed it mostly before that and stuff, but from D-Dot on, it became there is an entire world out there with billions of people who do not know what we talk about. Here is how you dupe them into believing that Islam is true, taking advantage of their ignorance, right? So that's how it spread, and that's when they, the perfect preservation of only one Quran, not one letter's difference. Oh, all the scientific miracles. It was all complete nonsense, but no one knew enough to respond to it. And so people started converting based on the lies. Well, that will work for a while, but eventually people start looking into things, and then people aren't as ignorant. People know how to respond. That's happening right now. That's why Dawa is crumbling. They had an entire methodology built on lying to gullible people, and now it's breaking down. And that's why they're in panic mode. That's why they're copyright striking God Logic. That's why they're going after people's families and wives and doxing people and so on. They're in full panic mode because they had a good thing going. They want the good old days, and now it just doesn't work anymore. And so sad, so sad, so sad, so sad for them. The mule says, when I make a claim, I say, a scientific thing. That's Dr. Naik. And there's a scientific thing. If you eat pig, you behave like pig. Do you remember that from biology? You remember that rule? If you eat pig, you behave like pig?
If you get the same parasite that controls your brain, maybe, but other than that, no.
Yeah, because Zakir Naik says there's a scientific thing. Let's see. So they're willing to insult their own prophets, Abraham and Isaac, by insisting Rebekah was 3. Their genius doesn't cease. Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's bad. So they're not just accusing Isaac, right? It's Abraham who sent his servant to find the wife for Isaac. So Abraham is implicated. So Abraham and Isaac. It's Moses, because Moses is writing this down. He doesn't condemn it. So now they've got Moses, and you've got God guiding the servant on whom to find. So they implicate God
and writing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what?
And writing it, because they believe in divine dictation.
Oh yeah. So you've got God, Moses, Abraham, and Isaac, all implicated in Isaac marrying a 3-year-old. And that's what Dawa guys are pushing. And why? It's all just like, think, if you really respected the prophets, would you be obsessed to the point where you'll lie? You'll just lie about them? And it's all for Muhammad. They claim to respect God, to respect Abraham, to respect Moses, to respect Isaac. They claim to respect all of them, and they will lie in a heartbeat to protect Muhammad, the most glaringly obvious false prophet in history. That's what they'll do. And that's how you can tell, like, absolute evil, demonic, antichrist cult.
Oh, yeah.
And here's this obvious false prophet, and that's all they care about at the end of the day. They don't really care about God. They'll throw God under the bus. They don't care about Abraham. They don't care about Moses. They only care about Muhammad, and they will show you that over and over again. And what you wonder is just like, how does anyone else like take them seriously? Like, it's obviously demonic. Let's see.
Oh, to be fair, for Sheikh Uthman in this video, he does say that he doesn't believe that she was 3.
Oh,
because
so
he was a holy prophet. So he
okay.
Now in the past he didn't do that. But for this video he did.
Interesting. So he's accusing the Bible of teaching this and lying to show something that he doesn't believe. Good to know. Good to know. So what does that mean? So Isaac didn't do this. Okay, well now where's your defense of Muhammad? Because I thought the goal seemed to be just to say everyone is a pedophile and therefore it's fine. So don't have a problem with it. I don't know,
no, this video makes Malik look smart. It's kind of it's sad. It is really sad.
Interesting. Loaves of Bread says, Chris, can you go over Tovia Singer on JTV calling Jews for Jesus worse anti-Semitism than Islam and his time as rabbi of Indonesia? Don't know if you
so there's an old stream with Tovia Singer who basically said that he was going to form an alliance with Muslims to destroy Christianity. So anything he says about Islam is him just straight up lying. It's fun.
Good to know. Good to know. Smart. Full-blown panic mode. Dawa is doomed. Yeah, Dawa's in trouble. Dawa's in trouble. Watching D-Wood made me realize how weird Momo was. Oh, he's pretty darn weird. And then we have, even if we granted she was 3, according to magic Muslim math, which she obviously wasn't, I have no problem standing up and saying Isaac was gross and wrong. They will never do the same to Muhammad. That's the thing. If somehow someone proved it and said, nope, she was 3, we'd just say, okay, that was evil then. That's what we would do. Yeah. We don't have this belief that anything a prophet did has God's stamp of approval. That's their weird belief. Yeah. And then they impose that weird belief on us. And here we have, Uthman is so slow, he tried to ride an auto cycle and found out he couldn't take the heat. It was too much pressure for him.
The auto cycle is the engine compression and explosion.
He tried to ride it. He tried to ride it.
Yeah, he tried to ride it.
Nice. Nice.
Oh,
all right.
That's cute.
Yep. I just wanted to show one quick short video clip. This is from Canyon Mims, where Sheikh Uthman is responding to the challenge that Islamophobes bring up about Muhammad and Aisha. So here's Sheikh Uthman's awesome investigation when Muhammad is being criticized. Let's see what he does here.
Can you prove that Aisha was not a child when she married Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in less than 60 seconds?
100% we can. The hadith mentions when the engagement happened,
Wait, did you just hear that, guys? He didn't say prove that Muhammad wasn't a pedo or something like that. He said prove that she wasn't a child. That's what he said.
That's his claim in this video too.
Yeah. On the screen, he has proving Muhammad wasn't a pedo in under 30 seconds. But he says, can you prove Aisha wasn't a child? So let's see.
Can you prove that Aisha was not a child when she married Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in less than 60 seconds?
100% we can. The hadith mentions when the engagement happened, when the marriage was to take place, she was young, so they waited. She waited with her family until she was post-pubescent.
Where? So that's 14 seconds. It took him 14 seconds to lie. That's not. That's if you don't count the lie of saying that he could prove she's not a child, because it's a lie that he can prove she's not a child. And you could count it as a lie that you could prove this in 30 seconds or something like this. But anyway, the point is, he's absolutely lying here, saying that she was post-pubescent and that this is what they were waiting for. Show us that, Sheikh Uthman, because your sources say the opposite. But let's continue.
She was no longer a child. She was post-puberty when they consummated the marriage. In fact, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and other great scholars have brought clear...
Liar. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says she was prepubescent. You liar.
brought clear narrations that say they waited till she was physically past the age of marriage when they consummated their marriage. So obviously, what did they wait for? They waited for her to no longer be a child, to be of what they considered to be an adult in the sense of marriage, according to the customs and traditions of their time. This is explicitly and clearly mentioned in the hadith itself.
Okay, so that's even if I don't want to count the little things like, oh, I can prove this in 30 seconds, and that's a lie. He lied saying that she had reached puberty. He lied saying Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says that she was post-pubescent and that's what they were waiting for. And he lied and said that this is clear from the hadiths. And so let me give you a little quick rundown here, guys. We'll run through this quickly. Notice this is Sahih al-Bukhari, guys. Notice the chapter heading. Giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. They flat out call these brides children in their sources. Giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. Why? By virtue of the statement of Allah, and for those who have no monthly courses, i.e. they are still immature. Surah 65, verse 4. The Surah 65, verse 4 is talking about, part of it, the part that he's citing right here is about divorce rules for prepubescent girls. So after you've married and had sex with a prepubescent girl, if you decide to divorce her, how long does she have to wait before the next guy can marry her? And keep in mind, talking about prepubescent. How long does she have to wait before the next guy can marry this prepubescent girl? That the waiting period is called the iddah. And then the iddah for the girl before puberty. Before puberty. This is Bukhari. This is the hadith that he's saying. This proves his case. And the iddah for the girl before puberty. Post-pubescent, no, before puberty is 3 months in the above verse. And then as an example of marrying a girl before puberty, we have Sahih al-Bukhari 5133, narrated Aisha that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old, and then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. Go a couple more here. 5158, narrated Urwa, the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with Aisha while she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage while she was 9 years old, and she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. Then we have 6130, and this is interesting because this actually includes commentary from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, whom Sheikh Uthman just said declared that Aisha was post-pubescent, and that's what Muhammad is waiting for. What does Ibn Hajar actually say? Look, narrated Aisha, I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves. Smart. Definitely want to hide yourselves from Muhammad if you're a little girl. But the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. Pretty creepy. And here in parentheses is the commentary from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. What? She was a woman? Says she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. Sheikh Uthman, yes, it's very clear, and I can prove, this is the proof that she was not a little girl. She's actually an adult. Are you kidding me? He's a liar. He supposedly has a master's degree in hadith studies, so he knows this is a lie. He knows it's a lie, and he tells it anyway. Now in Sahih Muslim, it was narrated that Aisha said, the Prophet married me when I was 6 years old and consummated the marriage with me when I was 9 years old. It was narrated from Aisha that the Prophet married her when she was 7 years old, and she was taken to him as a bride when she was 9 years old, and she took her dolls with her. He died when she was 18 years old. Are you allowed to play with dolls in Islam? Aren't those images? Aren't they forbidden? What did Ibn Hajar say? If you're prepubescent, the rule doesn't apply to you. They only apply the dolls rule to you. You can't play with dolls. They're images. They only apply that once you've reached puberty. So if she was still playing with dolls, prepubescent. It was narrated from Aisha that the messenger married her when she was 6 years old and consummated the marriage with her when she was 9 years old, and he died when she was 18 years old. Sunan Abu Dawud. Aisha narrated, the messenger of Allah married me when I was a girl of 7 years. Suleiman, one of the narrators, said, or 6, and he consummated the marriage when I was a girl of 9. Notice the only disagreement, the only possible disagreement is whether she was 6 or 7 when the marriage contract was written. As far as the age she was when it was consummated, they all say 9. And we have over 200 hadiths that say Aisha was 9 when Muhammad consummated the marriage with her. Here, Sunan an-Nasai, it was narrated that Aisha said, the messenger of Allah married me when I was 6 and consummated the marriage with me when I was 9, and I used to play with dolls. This is the history of At-Tabari. The Prophet married Aisha in Shawwal in the 10th year after the beginning of his prophethood, 3 years before the emigration. He consummated the marriage in Shawwal 8 months after the emigration. On the day he consummated the marriage with her, she was 9 years old. Here's the verse we mentioned, Surah 65, verse 4. It's pretty confusing until you know what's going on. It's giving the rules for your wives, for divorcing your wives, if they don't have a monthly menstrual cycle. So the Quran had already ruled that if you divorce your wife, she has to wait 3 monthly menstrual cycles before she can marry another man. And the objections came up, wait a minute, what if one of our wives doesn't have a monthly menstrual cycle, either because she's too old or because she's too young or because she's pregnant? Here's the ruling. Here's Allah's response. Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran. And those of your women as have passed the age of monthly courses, for them the iddah, prescribed period, if you have doubt about their periods, is 3 months. So if they've gone through menopause. And for those who have no courses, no monthly menstrual cycle, i.e. they are still immature, their iddah, prescribed period, is 3 months likewise, except in case of death. Okay, so that's what the Quran says. Now, you have, well, we could go off in a different, I was thinking about bringing up the commentaries, but you guys get the point. Ibn Kathir, Tafsir Jalalain, Ibn Abbas, Tabari, Qurtubi, everyone agrees, guys, that this is talking about marrying, having sex with, and divorcing girls all before they've ever reached puberty. And you have, as the example, Muhammad marrying Aisha, called a little girl. And Sheikh Uthman just said, it's crystal clear from the hadiths that Aisha was not a child. She was an adult. Total liar. So I'm going to be shocked if we go to this video about the age of Rebekah and we see lies, because we know Sheikh Uthman was accidentally lying there. We know it was accidental.
No, he intentionally lies about that exact thing in a much more severe way in the video. Do you have Surah 3349?
Oh, wait, that's in the video? He talks about that in the video too?
That's in the video.
Interesting.
Do you have, hey Ash, do you have Surah 3349?
My friends.
I have everything. But hey, Ash, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone while I pull this up?
My name is Ash. I have a channel called Ash Maiz, which is my name, on YouTube, where I say funny things about how Christianity is true and other things are not.
Oh, you hear that? He thinks Christianity being true is funny. It's a joke to him. It's something for him to laugh at, apparently.
Ironically, that's exactly how his critics talk about him.
I was told that this was an event that I'm joining where we get to make fun of mentally deficient comments. Is that true?
Hey, if you want to make fun of mentally deficient comments and videos and stuff, you have come to the right place, my friend. I guarantee you. Unlimited mockery of really stupid claims here on this channel.
It's really interesting. I have some good close friends who are Muslims, and they're like really smart and decent people. I find it really interesting when Yeah, I like my religion of Christianity because the more you study and the more scholarly you get, the more intelligent and decent you seem. But with Islam, it seems to be kind of the reverse.
Yeah, it's
Like
weird,
the
isn't it?
less you know, the more capable of being decent you are. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yeah. Jew, Jew, Jew.
Yes,
I
there's a
didn't do a
Jew on
spit
the
take this
screen.
time whenever you joined. The last stream we did together, you said, speaking of Jews, he comes up and I did a spit take. For those who haven't seen it.
And you wanted Surah 33, verse 49. That's part of the relevant for anyone who raised the objection. Oh, but maybe it wasn't about consummating. Maybe you just married. Maybe she was just betrothed and it was never consummated. And then they got divorced. Sorry, there is no iddah. There is no iddah. But here you have, let's see, Halali. So these are all translations of Surah 33, verse 49. Oh, you who believe, when you marry believing women and then divorce them before you have sexual intercourse with them, no iddah have you to count in respect of them. In other words, if you have not consummated the marriage, I'm assuming this is the point you're trying to make.
Yep.
If you haven't consummated the marriage, if you haven't had sex with her, then there is no iddah. So when it says there's an iddah for a prepubescent girl before the next guy can marry her, it's already acknowledging that's only a scenario that would arise if you've already had sex with her. And so that's just
It's allowing prepubescent sex.
yeah. So guys, that's just a point because, they mean well. Not everyone is a horrible deceiver and stuff like this, but it's just a natural inclination for people sometimes to make things up in response. So when they see, oh yeah, divorcing a prepubescent girl, oh, maybe it's not consummated. No, it just means like betrothed or something like that. There are people who would say that, making things up. But yeah, it doesn't work because the Quran itself says there is no iddah if the marriage hasn't been consummated. So response does not work.
I have four more relevant hadith as well to go through, but we can go through that whenever he lies about it in the video.
Okay. And do you have those?
you
Want me
had-
to pull those up?
I have those. I can share
Okay.
my screen.
Okay, that's cool
I
then.
also have like Ibn Ashaq pulled up and the Talmud and other things.
Let's see. There's 3 more super chats here. Let's check them out real quick. That guy better be careful. They like beardless. Oh, talking about Canyon Mims. Yeah. Poor guy. Dude, grow a beard or get a fake one, man. That poor Canyon Mims guy. Young and smooth skin. These guys are pretty creepy. Have you made a comprehensive chronological video analyzing Muhammad and ad hocness? No, but that if you're talking about comprehensive, that would be a lot because that happened a lot, guys. Isaac's righteousness is not a foundation of Christianity. Momo's righteousness is a foundation of Islam. Insert G.I. Joe lesson here. Yep, and knowing is half the battle. Thumbnail's impressive. GPT couldn't or wouldn't do this a year ago when I tried. Yeah, actually, someone sent me that. Someone sent me the picture of the muscle-bound 3-year-old, which is what these guys need to deal with Genesis 24. Genesis 24 describes the work that Rebekah was doing and doesn't sound like anything any toddler would ever be capable.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter is 3.5, almost 4, and today, just as an experiment, I gave her 1 bottle of water to carry from one side of the room to the other, and she lost interest halfway through and said it was too heavy and threw it. So
Not Rebekah, buddy. Not Rebekah.
I tried to get my 4-year-old son to pick up a milk jug and he couldn't.
Oh no, my 4-year-old son can pick up a milk jug. Come on, man.
I mean,
say that out
he's
loud.
like, he just turned 4. Come on.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah, that reminds me.
Gotta get the deadlifts in.
Back in the day, you used to look up how much can a camel drink. I remember looking this back up back in the day. Let's
I
say,
have the statistics.
oh my goodness, yeah. It says the AI response is a camel can drink up
2,000
to
liters
30
or
to
200
50
liters.
gallons, roughly 113 to 200 liters of water in a single sitting, often in less than 15 minutes. 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, a camel can drink 30 to 50 gallons, and she was watering 10 camels. 10 camels. So that's 300 to
2,000
500 gallons of water this 3-year-old lugged around. That's why she had to be absolutely muscle bound.
I feel like as soon as like the realization comes upon people that this argument is so nonsense, the script is gonna switch, and the next thing you're gonna hear is, you see, not even a fully grown woman could carry that much water, so your Bible has been corrupted.
The Bible is wrong. No one could do this. No one in history could water 10 camels.
Not even a fully grown man.
That's 60 trips with a 5-gallon bucket.
Not even Superman.
That's hard work.
Superman could water 10 camels. It's impossible. Hey, we ready to jump into this? All right, guys, prepare to have your minds blown. Ash, have you seen this video?
I have not. I was told that I'm getting a shake or something. I don't know what flavor of shake, but I'm excited.
That's good. Okay, so just so everyone knows, full disclosure, I have not seen this, although I've seen another video from a few years back by Sheikh Uthman on this video. Ash hasn't seen this video, although he has also seen an earlier video by Sheikh Uthman because we went through one at some point. But now we've got his updated case after years of being made fun of and even being called out by his fellow Muslims. Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, blasted Sheikh Uthman for this and just
which is in the comment section of his video. This video has like, why are you still giving this? Daniel Hakikuchu debunked it. So, or no, Jake the metaphysician debunked it. Yeah, totally Jake debunked it. Like, why are you still giving this? Maybe, so even Muslims are like, why are you doing this?
Maybe it's because he's a liar. Huh. Interesting.
Why do people in the chat think that just because people died earlier back then means they developed superhuman muscle earlier?
Like, where are you guys getting that?
They matured earlier, and because of the fact that they died younger.
Wait, wait a minute, Firu. Is he just?
There's one that's joking and one that's serious. I don't know if the first one was.
This is in the video actually with Uthman.
Firu normally defends Islam, so I don't know what. I can't tell if he's saying no. A 3-year-old was equal to 20 back then. Now I'm starting to, dude. If you're goofing up, look at this.
That is in the video with Uthman. This is in the video we're about to watch.
Oh, so he's actually been brainwashed by Sheikh Uthman. Okay, well, let's get into this.
He must have watched the video. Yeah, it's in the video.
Wonder Woman Rebekah. Yes, proves that there were superpowers. All right, guys, let's go ahead and check this out. This is Sheikh Uthman's latest, most up-to-date proof that, so Chris has watched this video. Me and Ash haven't.
Watched it twice.
Yeah, so he watched it twice, which is more than anyone should ever watch this unless you're just making fun of it. But I guess we're gonna see what happens here. But Chris says this is going to come up. All right, interesting stuff. And here we go. Prepare to have your minds blown, everyone. You can bet. And again, I just want to point out, apparently Sheikh Uthman saying he doesn't believe she was 3, but according to our sources, she was 3. And so we should believe it. And that's interesting. And therefore, we should stop criticizing Muhammad. All right. Got it. Got it, everyone? Let's check it out.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulillah. We get these Christian apologists that bring up the age of Aisha radiallahu anha and that you insulting ways about describing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
What's that?
This is the first lie he does. So already he's poisoning the well. None of those videos he's showing on screen are actually about Aisha being 6. If you actually look at the titles of all the videos, like he's randomly scrolling through it, but he says, "Oh, these Christians are talking about Aisha and Muhammad," and like some of these are like Muslim videos, and it's just like
that one Christian nonsense. Lady questioned Prophet Muhammad. That's a Muslim video.
Yeah, and then it keeps going. So he lies in the first second, and he blurs the thumbnails, because if you saw the thumbnails, you would know he's lying instantly. So he starts out the video with a lie that is unnecessary.
Christianity teaches what? How to share the gospel.
That's a Muslim video.
Wait, but then he's got how to share the gospel, evangelize. How is how to share the gospel this Islamophobe stuff? Anyway, okay. But anyway, guys, just ignore what he put on the screen.
Evangelize means something else.
Yeah, so
it's so dumb.
Okay, so that's kind of weird. It's not like we don't have tons of videos on this. We do, but maybe he didn't want to show them all because he didn't want people looking them up, so he'll just put some other videos up there along with that. All right. All right, good to know. Okay.
No idea.
So we'll give him a pass on that one because we're generous.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala rasulillah. We get these Christian apologists that bring up the age of Aisha radiyallahu anha and that you insulting ways about describing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's marriage to Aisha. Now, I want to be very clear that as Muslims, we believe that Aisha radiyallahu anha was post-puberty when she consummated her marriage with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
And what's that based on, Sheikh Uthman?
He's cherry picking his sources. He's going to give them.
Oh, he's going to give the sources. I wonder if he's going to do it like back in the day. They'd try to combine it. They'd say, okay, her sister was this age, or and then so if you take it and you combine that with this source and then add this source and then you do this and you point out that she was watching a battle and you weren't allowed as a male to fight in a battle unless you were a certain age. So she was watching a battle. She must have been that age. And they do these gymnastics and so on. Sheikh Uthman, what I'd like to
say. He just lies about Sahih Bukhari.
Really?
He doesn't even do all that. Yeah, he just lies about the hadith.
Really? All right. So he's saying we believe she was post-pubescent. So he's going to prove that she was post-pubescent here. Let's see.
According to the traditions and customs of the time. This is mentioned by Ibn Hajar Asqalani in Fath.
Guys, I just put Ibn Hajar up on the screen. I don't need to do it again, but I will if he keeps bringing it up. But guys, we saw Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says that the reason Aisha was allowed to keep playing with dolls was because she was prepubescent. And he's saying, Ibn Hajar says it. Okay.
Bari on the authority of Ibn Battal, and it's mentioned by Imam al-Nawawi on the authority of al-Dawoodi in his Sharh of Sahih Muslim that she had matured. Now, this is very important.
Where?
I know.
That would have been very easy to put up on the screen, right? Here's where it says it.
Yeah.
Okay. So real sources, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. That's a real source. Yeah. Okay, good to know. All right.
As somebody who may be a pedophile or somebody who's looking for a child marriage looks for younger children. They don't wait for a child to go past puberty or bulugh or maturity.
Wait, he just put Jeffrey up on this screen?
And Trump.
Weren't his victims post-pubescent? He wasn't going after like 5-6-year-olds, right? He was going at like teenagers, right?
No, he was going after infants. There's some reports of them doing
really?
like
that's
infants.
super creepy then.
Yeah. Like maybe even like some satanic sacrifice rituals. Like the rabbit hole on the Jeffrey stuff is deep and dark and vile.
Ugh. Nasty. Starting to sound Islamic, but let's see.
Consummate
By the way,
marriage.
can you guys hear me okay? Because I just changed something with my settings. All right, cool.
Yep, totally clear. Let me back up a little bit.
Very important because somebody who may be a pedophile or somebody who's looking for a child marriage looks for younger children.
Just want to be clear here, guys. He just admitted that if the sources are correct, he just called Muhammad a pedophile. He said a pedophile is looking for someone who's younger and prepubescent, which is exactly what Aisha was according to the hadiths and according to Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, both of whom he cites as proof that he's right, although he doesn't give the source. And guess what? If the Quran allows sex with prepubescent girls, as it does in Surah 65, verse 4, the Quran is basically giving an open invitation to pedophiles, according to Sheikh Uthman, what he just said. Now, he's going to lie and say that Islam doesn't allow this, but he just acknowledged that would make you a pedophile.
They don't wait for a child to go past puberty or
neither did Muhammad, and neither does the Quran require it. Allah doesn't care.
Bulugh or maturity to consummate the marriage. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he did not choose to marry Aisha. This was suggested to him because she was at an age to be wed in accordance to the customs of the time.
It was suggested to him. He came up to his buddy Abu Bakr, said, give me your daughter. And then he tells Aisha later, I had a revelation.
So he's quoting al-Tabari. He was quoting Ibn Ishaq, who Ibn Hashem removed. It's not actually in the Ibn Ishaq we have now. But this is a legit thing in the Tabari that he, after Khadijah died, one of his friends recommended that he married Aisha. Then he has the revelation, he has the dream, and then he goes to Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr goes to her fiance's family, and then her fiance's family breaks off the engagement. He lies about almost all of it. But I do want to bring up some sources real quick, if you can pull up my screen. because he is
And-
lying about Ibn Ashok.
Oh,
And
one
he's
second.
lying about the hadith.
Just wanted to point out, Brother David Wood, please put out a challenge to that serpent. Dean responds. He is going on with that blasphemous claims of Muhammad in the Bible. Can't. We had a debate. We had a 2-on-2 debate scheduled between me and AP on one side, and Dee's responds and Orthodox Lips. They both backed out and said we're boycotted. We're boycotted. So can't debate someone who says you're boycotted. All right, now you want, jump out of here. And
You know that
share my
Muhammad in the
screen.
Bible thing always ends up becoming funny because people will then point to Deuteronomy 13 that he's a false prophet. I'm like, well, he can't be
Yeah.
the false prophet of Deuteronomy 13 because he didn't perform any signs and wonders, and no Jew in the history of the world ever followed him.
That's not true. There was 10 rabbis that followed him, 8 of which realized he was a false prophet and left him, and then
Meaning
2
that
others
Jews
that
weren't led
converted
astray
after
by him to follow their God.
Right. Just some rabbis were led astray. And then most of the other rabbis realized because he was eating camel meat that they couldn't trust him. And then they realized he was a false prophet. But
I
yeah,
like
the
how that's
rabbis
the
who were
first thing that they saw
anti-Christian.
that they couldn't trust him.
I know. It's so stupid. That's
right,
in
what do you got here?
Theophanes. Oh, anyway. So it's Sahih Bukhari 3894. And it's talking about why he waited to marry her. Narrated Aisha, the Prophet Baha engaged me when I was a girl of 6 years, when he went to Medina and stayed at the home of Bani al-Rath bin Kharja, whatever. Then I got ill and my hair fell down. Later on, my hair grew again, and my mother, Rahman, came to me while I was playing in a swing with some of my girlfriends. Definitely sounds like an adult. She called me, and I went to her not knowing what she wanted me to do. She caught me by the hand and made me stand at the door of the house. I was breathless then. When my breathing became all right, she took some water and rubbed my face and head with it. Then she took me to the house. There in the house, I saw some Ansari women who said best wishes and Allah's blessing and a good luck. Why good luck? And then she entrusted me to them, and they prepared for me for the marriage. Unexpectedly, Allah's apostle came to me in the forenoon, and my mother handed me over to him. At that time, I was a girl of 9 years old. So she got ill, and her hair fell out. Then it grew again. She got, pretty, quotations, again, and Muhammad wanted to marry her. So he makes it seem like he waited to marry her, to consummate it, whenever she was pubescent. According to al-Bukhari, you might be able to say that it was because she got ill and he had to wait for her to get healthy again, and then he married her. But Ibn Ashok also says that she was, 7, and they got married whenever she was 9. So he married Aisha in Mecca when she was a child of 7, and lived with her in Medina when she was 9 or 10, when she was the only virgin that he had married. So in Ibn Ashok, in page 792, we get that Aisha was 7, and then they consummated at 9 or 10. Also in Ibn Ashok, because he said, why would he couldn't be a PDF file. Well, in Ibn Ashok 311, it says, I recorded that the apostle saw her, Falda, when she was a baby crawling before him, and said, if she grows up and I am still alive, I will marry her. But he died before she grew up, and this other dude married her, and she bore him 2 boys. So he saw a baby crawling and desired her enough to say, if she grows up and I am still alive, I will marry her. Does that sound like a reasonable thing for an adult man to do in his 60s? Or late 50s?
Well, I've never had any daughters, but if I did and she was 1 and some guy said, I'll marry her, gonna have some problems.
Most certainly some problems.
And this is the hadith for the dream he had in Sahih Bukhari 7012. Narrated Aisha, Allah's messenger, Baha said to me, you were shown to me twice in a dream before I married you. I saw an angel carrying you in a silken piece of cloth, and I said to him, uncover, and behold, it was you. And I said to myself, if this is from Allah, then it must happen. Then you were shown to me the angel carrying you in a silken piece of cloth, and I said to him, uncover, and behold, it was you. And I said to myself, if this is from Allah, then it must happen. So you have this dream that's actually causing it, and then he goes to Abu Bakr, and he said, like, well, how could, we're brothers. How could you marry Aisha? And then he's like, you're just my brother in religion. You're not my real brother. So therefore we can get married. And then later on, after he married Abu Bakr's daughter, and he married Umar's daughter, I believe Hafsa was Umar's daughter, we get that it was narrated from Abdullah bin Burda,
Brady.
that his father said Abu Bakr. What?
Yeah, good.
Right. Abu Bakr and Umar, may Allah be pleased with them, proposed marriage to Fatima, but the Messenger of Allah said she is young. Then Ali proposed marriage to her, and he married her to him. Now, this is Sahih, this is Sunan An-Nasai 32:21. Now, interestingly, either he's lying because he doesn't want Abu Bakr and Umar to marry her, even though he married both of their daughters, and he wants Ali to marry her, or she didn't want to marry them, and he was just being charitable to his daughter, but not their daughters. So either he's lying, and she's not actually too young, because she was, according to Shia, 9 or 11, and according to Sunnis, mid-teenage to 18 whenever she married Ali. Either he's lying, or he's admitting here that he married Aisha when she was too young. Either way, your standard of conduct fails.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So either your standard of conduct is a liar or he is a child abuser. Which one is it?
Pretty creepy. That's what it is.
Anyway, that was my sources for the moment. He's gonna lie about all of that again in the video.
I don't believe that Sheikh Uthman's going to lie about anything. 1 second. 1 second. One second. All right. Well, let's jump into this and resume.
Now, Jubair ibn Mut'im was the one that Aisha radiyallahu anha was already engaged to. That means, according to the custom of the time, when a girl comes close to the age of puberty, they got her engaged. Now, when the
where are you getting that? If Muhammad married her when she was 6 and she was already engaged, where are you getting, oh, that means that they got engaged when they were close to puberty? Where are you getting that from? Where, Sheikh Uthman? Everything with you is trust me, bro. Everything with you is trust me, bro. 1 second. We got someone who needs attention. Guess who? Oh, shocker. It's Isa. Shocker. Shocker, everyone.
Hey, Isa. You should become a Christian.
Oh, you heard it here. You heard it. You heard it for the first time here live, folks. Isa should become a Christian.
Is Isa not a Christian?
He's a Sufi Muslim. Everyone calls him the goofy Sufi because that's what he calls himself. But he's pretty laid back and chill, so we let him slide. We give him a pass. We give him a pass.
Chris has really good lectures on why Islam is just rabbinic Judaism, though. So basically, you're Jewish.
Hey! Isa didn't have any problem with that. He likes Jews. Yeah, he's half Jewish, man.
Yeah,
he's half.
Yeah,
Jewish.
I figured that.
Half Muslim, why? Or half Arab.
So
and he's named after Jesus, so he's a combination of the three.
So if you're with a bunch of Jews, you could just be like, I do Judaism, and with Muslims, you could just be like, I do Sufi Islam.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I think Sunni Islam is identical to rabbinic Judaism, so I think it's the same thing where it's completely lands on the scholars. I think it's totally that. So yeah,
including Sharia.
That's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Have you guys done a stream together, Isa and Chris? Because that would be awesome.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Funny.
Isa would do it.
Pleasure.
You should pick a topic you guys both like, because that would be fun. And yeah, Isa's his own thing. People always like, why are you this? And they never understand Isa. Ain't no thing like Isa except Isa, everyone. All right, ready to jump back into this? Let's check it out.
Prophet ﷺ proposal came. Abu Bakr, the father of Aisha, he broke the engagement with Jubair ibn Mut'im, who was a polytheist, and he then offered his daughter to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
You guys hear this? Offered his daughter? Muhammad came up and told him.
Mm-hmm.
Said, hey, I want to marry your daughter. He says, but we're brothers. What are you talking about, man? We're so close. We're so close that we're brothers. No. We're only brothers in religion. Your daughter's lawful for me. Does that sound like Abu Bakr? Hey, will you marry my daughter? I really would. Really think it would be great, Messenger of Allah. Yeah. You're right. You're right. I mean, 3.9 lies per minute sounds accurate. Everything he's like, every sentence, there's some lie in it.
The crazy part is we haven't even gone to the dense lies yet.
The rapid fire lies.
So he lied about At-Tabari there as well. So At-Tabari is quoting Ibn Ishaq, which is not quoted by Ibn Hashem, which is what the Galameh's reconstruction was from. So Tabari quotes Ibn Ishaq as to say that Abu Bakr, after he is told by Muhammad, hey, I want to marry your daughter, he's like, oh, well, I've already promised her to this pagan family. So then he goes to the pagan family, meets the parents of the son, and is like, hey, I'm a Muslim now. Do you still want to? Because as the father of the bride, it was improper for him to break off the marriage. So he goes to them and says, like, hey, do you still want to marry my daughter, Aisha? And they were like, oh, well, actually, we're kind of concerned that your daughter, since you're a Muslim, she'll likely be raised Muslim as well. We're concerned that Aisha would cause our son to leave our ancient customs and religion and follow Islam. So we don't actually want our son to marry you. And then Abu Bakr conceded, is like, okay, that's fair. Let's just annul the marriage then. And then he goes and gives her to Muhammad. So what he's doing here is either mischaracterizing what actually happened or lying. By the way, it's not what is in the sources.
I'd go with lying. It's one thing if it's some random Muslim and they say something. Normally, lots of Muslims are, even if they're wrong, they're not deliberately lying. They think they're right, and they heard this from a Dawa guy, so they think they're telling the truth and so on. Again, he supposedly has a master's degree in hadith, so he should know better. Yeah,
it's really interesting because, like, in apologetics, like if you're doing things properly, you should never lie about the other person's position because you should be steel manning it before you prove it false. Now, I do get why some people who are not skilled at that would lie about somebody else's religion, but if you have to lie about your own religion to make your point, that's a whole nother
and then
problem.
lie about the others too. Yeah. Oh, man.
Who then waited 3 years to consummate their marriage. The consummation was delayed. Why? As Ibn Hajar Asqalani and Nawawi and other scholars have put, for her to hit puberty or be ready for relations in accordance with biological standards and the customs of the time.
No. Okay. Just hypothetically, if you said that was the custom of the time, wait to puberty, then why does the Quran allow sex with prepubescent girls? Why? Why, Sheikh Uthman? Why? Why is Allah's standard lower than the customs of the time? Because we're all looking at this going, oh, this is really messed up. They're marrying these young girls. And he's saying, but it's the customs of the time to wait until puberty. It's the custom of the time to wait until puberty. Okay, then why do you have Allah being worse than the customs, the revelation of the Quran being worse than the customs of pagan Arabs? So you have, here's the standard of pagan Arabs. Here's the standard of pagan Arabs. And then Allah is worse, according to you? Allah's worse than the pagan Arabs in what he says? But yeah, guys, total nonsense, right? The only thing you get from the sources, as far as, she's either 6 or 7 and then she's 9 when when the marriage is consummated, is he did wait to consummate the marriage. Then the question is why? They want to jump in and say, waiting for puberty. Okay, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense of the rest of the sources. So it must have been something else. Chris gave one explanation from the hadith. It was she got sick. She got sick. All her hair fell out. So she had some sort of illness that made all her hair fall out, and she wasn't attractive. So they waited until her hair started growing back. Okay, so that's one possible explanation. The other that you find in the later commentaries when they're making the laws and so on, that they did have a concept. Puberty wasn't what was required. It was, they understood that a girl can be so kind of small and fragile that you might crush her during sex. And so there was that concern. You have to wait. And that's why they would try to fatten them up. And you even have the source about Aisha's mother trying to fatten her up, right? Because they wanted you to be able, they didn't want your daughter getting crushed by sex when some creepy old dude climbs on top of her and stuff. So you had that. You have that as one of their actual concerns that you find in their sources. The other issue is they were concerned about fistulas, right? And they describe it as the 2 holes becoming 1 hole. In other words, she's too small to penetrate. So you actually tear her, and you tear her open, and then you turn the 2 holes into 1 hole. They were concerned about that. That's what these scholars say you would wait for. You try to wait until she can actually handle, for lack of a better term, a man being inside her without causing without permanently disabling her or killing her or something like that. That's what they were concerned about. And so if you married a girl at 6 or 7, you're basically waiting until you think she can handle it without doing permanent damage to her. Not puberty. That's not what they're waiting for. So what he's saying here is complete nonsense. It's just complete nonsense.
Yeah,
And
he's
it
going to
con-
attack
it
for
contradicts
all
the
of the Sharia scholars too.
Oh.
He's basically going to say that no Muslim actually allows prepubescent marriage.
Are you kidding me? Are you?
It's a great video, man. Yeah.
Well,
I do have a question though.
This would be insane,
Before we
though.
get to that.
This would be insane then, because I mean, again, Ibn Abbas, Ibn Kathir, the two Jalals, Qurtubi, all these guys, Tabari, they all
All four
agree.
schools
They
of
all agree.
jurisprudence.
All
Yeah.
of them agree. And Muhammad Hijab even says in that famous clip, he says, there's no requirement that she reaches puberty. You can't go around that. So you've got hijab, I mean, ultimate dirtbag, saying you can't get around the fact that puberty is not required. And then Sheikh Uthman, everyone agrees that puberty is required, even though Allah says the opposite. And all of our classical scholars agree that sex with prepubescent girls is allowed. And even Muhammad Hijab says you can't go around it. Oh my goodness, guys. What is this? This is Dawa. This is Dawa. People wonder why he's
People realize how insane it
God
is?
logic.
Do people realize how insane it is that we even have to be having this conversation about this topic, about the prophet who's like the perfect person you're supposed to follow in your religious beliefs? That like we're debating how bad it is, like the scale of how bad it is, like that this is even a conversation at all.
Pretty bad. Let me just put a couple of commentaries on the screen just to show that he's lying when he says that the scholars agree that you can't have sex with a prepubescent girl. We read Surah 65, verse 4. Here are three of the most popular Muslim commentaries of all time on this very issue, commenting on Surah 65, verse 4. Look at this, right? So this is Tafsir Jalalain, Surah 65:4. And as for those of your women who, and so you have the Quran in bold and then commentary in regular font, no longer expect to menstruate. If you have any doubts about their waiting period, their prescribed waiting period shall be 3 months. And also for those who have not yet menstruated because of their young age, their period shall also be 3 months. So if this is talking about, and Chris already pointed out, Surah 33, verse 49, there is no iddah, there is no waiting period for a girl if you have not consummated the marriage with her. There's no iddah. So the fact that they're talking about iddah means sex. You have had sex. You have had sex with her. Okay, what is this talking about? Who's this talking about divorcing? Their prescribed waiting period shall be 3 months, and also for those who have not yet menstruated because of their young age. They're talking about girls who don't have a monthly period. They don't menstruate because of their young age. What is this? These are young girls, right? All right. Here you have. Yep, let me get rid of this on the screen here. This is Ibn Kathir, guys. Ibn Kathir. The heading, the iddah of those in menopause and those who do not have menses. Allah the Exalted clarifies the waiting period of the woman in menopause, and that is the one whose menstruation has stopped due to her older age. Her iddah is 3 months instead of the 3 monthly cycles for those who menstruate, which is based upon the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, verse 228. That's where it says you wait 3 monthly menstrual cycles if you want to divorce a woman. The same for the young who have not reached the years of menstruation. What is this? The young. They haven't reached the years of menstruation. And it's interesting, Ibn Abbas gives the historical background here, like why Muhammad's actually, well, Allah officially is actually responding to this. So you have the Quran in parentheses there and then commentary outside the parentheses. And for such of your women as despair of menstruation because of old age, if you doubt about their waiting period, their period of waiting shall be 3 months, upon which, so someone actually asks the question here, upon which another man asked, O Messenger of Allah, what about the waiting period of those who do not have menstruation because they are too young, along with those who have it not because of young age? Their waiting period is 3 months. So the Quran is actually responding to a guy who raises his hand and says, what about the waiting period, the iddah, of those who don't menstruate yet because they're too young? What is that? Those are little girls. Sheikh Uthman saying you don't marry or consummate a marriage with a prepubescent girl and saying that the scholars agree with him. Lie, 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 lie. I don't know if he's going to do this later, but he keeps saying it, but he doesn't actually give any sources.
So I have a question for Ash real quick, because you studied the rabbinics way more than I have. I've read a decent bit of Nida, both the Mishnah and the Gemara, and I've read a good bit of the Midrash on marriage, because the Islamic marriage is just coming from the rabbinic version of it. Is there any place where any rabbi talks about a fistula, about having intercourse with a young girl that causes the anus and the vagina to like become one whole?
Not
'Cause
that
I
I'm
can't
aware
recall
of,
any.
and I'm pretty sure that that's not permitted in rabbinic Judaism.
It's not.
So
Yeah, I have a source that shows it's not permitted.
like the consensus view is that of I think it's Yehuda Anasi says something along the lines of, if your daughter's not old enough to consent to the person she wants to marry, then it would bring a curse on your family to marry her off. Like, so it's not just puberty, it's like she has to decide who she wants to marry. So I don't know why they would even have the conversation on that topic at that point.
Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Elazar both basically say that in Kedushin, which I'm going to bring up later whenever he lies about it. But if you think about this, so what he's going to say in this video is that Jews all the time are allowing you to have intercourse with 3-year-olds. That's one of his main talking points of the video. But there's not a single source that I'm aware of within Judaism that talks about a fistula, and there's dozens in Islam where they actually practice child marriage. So wouldn't that be evidence that the Jews aren't practicing it because they're not aware of the repercussions of doing that to children? Because if you do it to a child, it's almost guaranteed to happen, especially a 3-year-old. But Jews never mention it once. They talk about the hymen, which we'll get to, but they don't talk about that.
Yeah, I don't recall ever learning anything like that or about that.
And we've got 1 1/2 Jews here. Well, I have to point out, it's a little over 1 1/2, because according to my DNA results, I am 2.7% Jewish. Bam.
Are you 2.7% Ashkenazi or Mizrahi or Sephardi?
Ashkenazi, but you better not say a word, man. Don't say a word. I see you there.
Ash, did I ever show you what I got gifted?
You're not real 2.7% Jew.
So I have a Mazel Tov on your bar mitzvah, a bookend that was made in Israel, and also have a Torah scroll in Hebrew.
What are you saying?
So
that makes you honorary Jew or something? Come on.
Yeah, I'm an honorary Jew. So
Chris thinks because he had a
slightly
matzah ball
more.
that counts.
I know.
I studied Talmud and I ate a matzah ball once.
I'm a Jew now, yes.
All right, we ready? All right, more from Sheikh Uthman. Here we go.
So, to be very clear, Aisha radiallahu anha was post the age of puberty when they consummate their marriage.
And you offered no actual evidence. The only thing you offered was lies to support what you're saying. Classic Dawa. But here we go. Guys, I'll say...
He's also cherry...
Yeah.
He's cherry picking here,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he doesn't mention any of the scholars that affirm that she was a child. So,
Yeah. And it's,
double lie.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, in the name of full disclosure here, I think there is a plausible path to not believe that Aisha was 9 or prepubescent, and that is just to conclude that the hadiths they're garbage, right? And I'm saying that because there are Muslims who go that direction. They don't trust the hadiths. They think the hadiths are a bunch of made up nonsense. Maybe you can find little kernels of truth in here, but they're significantly later made up nonsense largely. And if you grant that, it's a trade-off. So, okay, then we don't know about Aisha because we just can't trust the sources on Aisha. But that also means we don't know a lot about Muhammad from a historical perspective because your sources are just full of lies. I just want to point out that's the only actual serious. And by the way, I can take that seriously. If I'm talking to a Muslim and he says the hadiths, come on, there's Bukhari's 2 centuries later. People were making up stuff like it's a sport. You can't trust these sources. Okay. If a person says the sources are garbage, I would not hold him to Aisha being 9. But that person could not then go on and tell me here's all this awesome stuff we know about Muhammad, because you wouldn't know much about Muhammad. All right.
You'd also have to throw out the tafsir and the sirah as well. So you'd be a Quran only
Yeah,
by
you'd
default.
be Quran only, or someone who believes that you can kind of piece together some reliable historical information or something like that. But you kind of got a problem either way. But let's check out Sheikh Uthman. Let's see if you can go 10 seconds without lying again. My goodness. Here we go.
No, you can't.
There is absolutely nothing objectionable in this, because this is the custom of the time.
I laid out a very easy challenge. To go 10 seconds. Go 10 seconds, right?
I don't think he does in the video.
Did you catch that? Dude, Sheikh Uthman, I'm seriously, I do not want to stop. I do not want to have to stop this every 5 seconds. He just said...
Every 15 seconds on average.
Yeah, he just said there's nothing objectionable about this because it was according to the custom of the time. Wait a minute. So if something is a custom of the time, you can't object to it, right? Why is that false even according to Islam? Well, they also practiced female infanticide to some extent. I think it gets exaggerated by Muslims and stuff like that, but to some extent. If you did not want to take care of a daughter, you'd toss her out in the desert or something like that. And Muhammad, to his credit, condemned female infanticide, said stop doing that stuff. I'll give him credit for that. Good. That is like one of the most evil practices there ever were. Christians, and
He condemned
by the
it.
way,
He wanted to marry them.
oh yeah, that's true. So yeah, it doesn't have to be entirely selfless, but it was, female infanticide was also common in the Roman world. Christians ended that, and so if Muslims put an end to it, even if it's just because they want to marry them or something like that, I'm still glad you ended the practice. But notice, according to him, you can't say it's evil because it was a custom of the time. Really, Sheikh Uthman. So if wasn't drinking alcohol a custom of the time? So you can't condemn it, right? There can't be anything wrong with it, right, Sheikh Uthman? Because it was a custom of the time. This is what, this is shocking to me from a philosophical perspective. Muslims, according to their position, should be moral absolutists. There are absolute rules about right and wrong. Suddenly, if you're talking about Muhammad or criticizing anything Muhammad ever did, they become moral relativists. Whatever the culture of your time says, that's fine. And you can't criticize anything that's part of the culture of the time. Are you kidding me? All these guys do all day is criticize the culture that we have today. That's all they do. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. But I thought you can't criticize. Oh no, only in this situation when you're criticizing Muhammad. Then you can't question the culture of your time. Are you kidding me? This is beyond stupid. Oh my goodness.
The ironic part is, if you actually look at the cultures around him as well, it gets worse. So Jews were 12 and a half. The Byzantines were 14. The Caesarians were 15, although there were some reports that they were 9, but I think that was influenced by Islam. But it was 15 for a while. And it just doesn't work. And even the historical accounts we have, if you're a peasant girl, you're likely going to get married older in life because you're going to be working for your father for longer. So if you're the poorer you are, the less nutrients you have, it's 16 to 20 was the average age range of girls who would marry off at that time period. So like 12 and a half is the lowest out of any of the cultures around him. And even then, that was not the rule. That was the bottom of it. You would still get married off at like 16, 17, 18. So if it by the customs and the traditions, then Muhammad is 3 times lesser than every person around him.
Isa, why are you the noisiest person in the world without just putting... There you go. There you go. But hey, if anyone's thinking about criticizing Isa here, we have from Blue Goose. Look, the fact of the matter is, Isa has not given us one reason to condemn him. It's one thing to dislike the Dawagandists, but Isa is not a reflection of them, so we should treat him with respect, which is what we do, which is why everyone loves Isa here, except for the fans of the Dawagandists.
I think that applies to across the board. I think people need to just understand that you can criticize ideology, religion, and get into things. There's no individual person you should condemn and attack unless they've done something wrong or said something wrong. You shouldn't just blanket condemn people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Isa has enough cool points stored up that Isa could go on an axe murdering spree and we still wouldn't condemn him because he's been so cool for years now. All right, let's jump back into this.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, good. Don't do it. I was just joking. Don't actually go on. He's like, yes, now I can go kill a bunch of people.
look back and judge that by today's standard is presentism. Today we may say 18 is the minimum age of marriage. Tomorrow they might say 21. And then everybody who got married at 18 is going to be given the titles and things. You have to look at the customs of the time. Even if you look at the United States of America, until 1890 in Delaware, 7 years of age was the legal age to marry and consummate marriage, to be married legally in America.
Really?
Yep. So actually, I have the statutory law. I can pull it. I'll pull it up real quick. So if you want to share my
Delaware
screen.
was a weird state.
Really? So he was even lying about that? I was like, I don't know. Maybe he's actually right about that. Maybe he's actually right in one thing that he said, but
Nope.
Chris had to ruin it and say he's not even right about that. Let's check it out. Oh, what?
So
I put my screen up. There's your screen. Okay.
Okay. So presentism itself is a pretty dumb position to have, especially if he's a sheikh. But, you know, as I talked about earlier, it's like, well, yeah, all the cultures around him were significantly older than that. But what he's saying in Delaware is not even true. So what he's referring to is the 1871 adjustment to the age of consent law in Delaware. Why does this exist? Because it's very important. And he doesn't mention it whatsoever. And even if you read it, it's very clear that, you know, what he's saying is just not true. So this is the whole bill for this in 1871 in March 28th. Section 1, that chapter 127 of the revised statutes be amended in the 10th section by inserting in the first line between the words grape and shall, the words or who shall carnally know and abuse a female child under the age of 7. So this reference here is not about marriage. He is lying, or he's misinformed, and he's just repeating something that he got ChatGPT to say to him. This is not about marriage. This is specifically about grape. Why? Because in Delaware, at this point in time, they had a capital punishment for the grape of a child. So if you had intercourse with a child under 7, you would be put to death 100% of the time. It was 10 before 1871, but because there were so many girls that were being abused and STDs were such a prevalent thing at this time, they actually instituted the death penalty again, lowered it from 10 to 7 so that less people would get killed from this. And then if it's over 7, you get 10 years of prison. So he is lying. And this is not about marriage. The legal age of marriage at this point in time was still like 14 across the board because they were still using English common law. And English common law in, the 1500s, they instituted it as 12 across the board for everywhere. And then in 1754, they actually said that the age of 21, like kids under the age of 21 needed to get parental permission to get married. So marriage and the punishment for having intercourse with a child were disconnected in the legal system. And then he's lying about it. And then in 1890, this got reversed, and actually the age of consent became 16. So because there was so much pushback on this law. So for only 19 years was this in effect, and it was only in effect to put to death people who would have intercourse with kids. And then in 1895, we have Carrie Hawley, who was trying to get the age of consent raised to 21 in Colorado. So he's about to just make it seem like all of America was like, oh, we're just doing them with kids. And no, the people who were doing this were being put to death for it across the country. And the standard was if you do it with under a 10-year-old, you're going to be killed. So he's misrepresenting history, and he's either lying about it or he just is entirely unaware that what the source he's actually giving does the opposite of what he wants. And it's actually evidence against his view that these other cultures are doing this thing.
Pretty creepy, Sheikh Uthman. Hey, that's pretty cool. Because even states today, they have more severe punishments depending on the age. So they'll just have below the age of consent, and then it'll be like, 3 years, like this age range and so on. And this is the penalty. And then they'll have below that, and then they'll have this. And then if it's like really young, then they'll have a different penalty and stuff. So
it wasn't the age of consent. It was the age at which you get the death penalty for it.
It was the definition
So
of statutory rape in Delaware for 19 years.
Obviously, if you don't have the death penalty, then it's saying it's okay. That would be the reasoning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
No, it has nothing to do with marriage. This entire bill had nothing to do with marriage before that moment, during that moment, and after that moment. It was all about statutory abuse of children and the punishment that they would get, whether it was the death penalty or 10 years in prison, and then it changed after 1890.
Everyone noticed.
Not about marriage.
Everyone noticed the lies and gymnastics you have to do in order to defend Muhammad on this. Endless lies. Like, I mean, can you go 10 seconds? He couldn't go 5. He couldn't go 5. I had not seen this video. I just said, can you go 10 seconds without lying? He could not do it. He was incapable of doing it. All right, let's check this out.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala
Oh, no.
Rasulillah.
Whoops.
We get
Actually,
these Christian apologists that bring
start
7
over.
years of age was the legal age to marry and consummate marriage, to be married legally in America. Until 1890, you could be 7 years old. Are we saying everybody that got married then was a pedophile? No. That was the standard of the time.
We would say that, yes.
And if anything is the standard of the time, you'd say it's okay. No, I would say if you're in Delaware and you have sex with a 7-year-old, you are a pedophile. We would say it.
And you go
I would say
to
it right
prison
now.
for 10 years.
I would. And I would especially say it. I would especially say it if it's someone that God said is the pattern of conduct for all other people. Because when you say this is the pattern of conduct for all other people, you're no longer appealing to just the time. Now you are supposed to transcend all times, right? This is supposed to be the rule for all times if you're the pattern of conduct. Here's where presentism actually is an issue. Before us, there are tons of generations who don't know everything that we know right now, right? And so you don't want to hold them accountable for things they didn't know. So there could be times where they didn't know the statistics and so on about how basically the younger you get, the more problems you have. They didn't know the medical data on it really helps if you wait till a girl's 18, right? The statistics on all the problems that arise, fistulas and stuff like that, problems with the child, they drop throughout the teen years and then they go really low around 18. So that means like that's the safest time. That is just the safest time. Well, guess what? If they didn't know that in a certain culture or something like that, you don't want to say, oh, okay, well, you were marrying girls at 15 or 14 or something like that. Shame on you. How did you not know? Well, they didn't know these things all the time. So you don't want to hold them accountable.
They did know it in America.
Accountable.
Well, ironically, they did know about that in America in the 1800s because Joseph Smith was called a pedophile for marrying a 14-year-old.
Oh, that's the point. Yeah,
the standard was 18.
People gained knowledge over time. People increased in knowledge over time. Like even as you were pointing out, even when they're 12 and a half and 14 over here and stuff like that, they're understanding that. Hey, we've witnessed. We have enough knowledge in the community to know that there are more problems with the younger girl and stuff like that. So they did know that. I'm just talking about like in general, like, okay, they didn't know 18 is a really pretty darn safe age. That's where things get pretty darn safe. So you don't condemn them for not knowing things that they did not know. That's not the same thing as saying, well, if they thought it was okay to have sex with a 9-year-old, who are we to say, oh, it's just presentism or something like, no, it was bad then. And it's very bad if God says, and I'm putting my stamp of approval on this guy and what he does. And if this guy did it with a 9-year-old, by golly, how dare you condemn it? That's different because now you've got the customs of the time being given the stamp of approval by God and telling us that we're wrong. Because if Muhammad's a pattern of conduct according to God, and we're saying, no, you got to wait until 16 or 17 or 18 or whatever, and Muhammad's the pattern of conduct and your laws are wrong, okay, well, that's condemning us. So
it's so wild because it's like if in Islam you can cut somebody's hand off for stealing. Is that the case?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's like if you say like, oh, in 1800s America they used to beat people really badly for stealing, and it's like, see, you beat people. It's just the same thing. It's like, no, that's also bad, but cutting off their hand is definitely a lot worse.
Yep.
Right. There is a spectrum and a scale, and we don't agree with those things either. We don't think you should violently abuse people for stealing. But we also definitely don't think you should cut their hands off.
Yeah, especially the hands. I mean, I can understand previous generations. They don't have prison. They don't have, they can't pack prisons out and stuff like that. So, okay, we'll just beat them. All right, you're not doing. If you chop someone's hand, if someone's already stealing, and you chop his hand off, now you've made it more difficult for him to work and have a job and things like that and earn a living. And so, what's he going to do now? He kind of already has a habit of stealing, so you just kind of locked him into that life. Hey, check this out. Here's Firu again. Apologetics Roadshow. Rebekah was 3 years old according to the Bible. Chapter and verse, Firu. Hey, Firu, give us chapter and verse. Before we even go on to Sheikh Uthman here, give us chapter and verse of the Bible that says Rebekah was 3 years old. You just said according to the Bible. And they said the rabbi explained how she worked at that age, so your words are meaningless. Well, notice, you just said a rabbi explained how she could work at the age of 3, so that might be interesting. But you also said Rebekah was 3 according to the Bible. Show us that Rebekah was 3 according to the Bible. And then you said marrying a 13-year-old is not pedophilia. Wait, what? We're talking about a 9-year-old here.
All you're doing with that claim is just proving that more so that Muhammad got a lot of stuff from Judaism, if that's the case, because there's nothing in the Bible about her being that age. It's a weird assumption on one piece of midrashic literature. And yes, there are rabbis today who will very foolishly try to justify that midrash, but it doesn't actually say that in the Bible. So you'd be depending on rabbinic literature to come to that conclusion. And it's one piece of rabbinic literature contradicted by other pieces of rabbinic literature that most Jews don't believe.
Firu, give us chapter and verse from the Bible. You just said according to the Bible. Give us chapter and verse that says she was 3, or you will forever be known as the guy who's lying about the Bible. Why do you Dawa clowns not care about being exposed as liars? I can't figure it out. Like Sheikh Uthman, lie, 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 lie. And, you, his fans, will just mindlessly believe anything he says. Anyone who's actually paying attention and looking up anything he says knows this guy's a compulsive liar. Like, why are you guys comfortable with everyone outside your little clique knowing that you're the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen? Why is that the case? But you can prove us wrong right now. Just show us where in the Bible it says that Rebekah was 3. It's very simple, right? You said it. You made the claim right here. You made the claim. Let's see it. Aisha, you're about to say something?
Yeah, it's also a deflection. So let's say that's true. That doesn't make the other thing okay. They would both be bad then. Like, this is the thing that I don't understand with these type of line of argumentation. Saying, oh, here's one bad thing, and this other person did the bad thing. Oh, wow, does that now make it right? No.
No, you're correct. So suppose we granted, and Chris didn't actually bring up what the law actually says. Suppose everyone in Delaware in the 1800s was having sex with 7-year-olds. Okay, would that mean, oh, I guess it's okay then? Really? That's how we're supposed to think? Oh, if people were doing it, then it must be okay. And therefore it was okay for Muhammad. Who thinks like this? Dawa clowns. That's who thinks like this. And they want everyone else to think like that. And that's why they defend so much first cousin marriage, because you need to lower the IQ of people so that they fall for this stuff. You seriously do. It's sad. But let's check out what Sheikh Uthman says. Oh, gosh.
One last thing on presentism. So Muhammad is the standard of all humanity for all time. So you would expect him to be perfectly moral, and even people today would not be able to object to anything he did. And then yet that's not the case. But there is a figure before Muhammad that pretty much no one objects to any of the actions that he did. That's Jesus. So why does Jesus appear to be the actual standard of morality where no culture really objects to any of the things he did? They actually praise him. Even atheists praise him for his morality and his teaching and his conduct. Other than very polemical Jews who lie about him, everyone who's actually engaging
in what the gospel say
about him.
Rabbi Emanuel Shochet famously said, the most disgusting thing a biblical figure or a figure of that time period ever said was, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody comes to the Father except through me. That's apparently the most disgusting thing. But that's just one rabbi saying something funny. So
yeah, no. Other than like the polemical rabbis like Imam Tovia Singer, other than those dudes, everyone loves Jesus. Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Messianic Jews, atheists, like everyone loves Jesus. He appears to be a standard that everyone could follow throughout time and not be objectionable. And yet Muhammad is the standard of morality?
Yeah, that is odd. I mean, you'd think, okay, even if they're, because we could be wrong about certain things, our culture could be wrong about certain things. You'd think a guy who's like the ideal pattern of conduct, he might be different from you. He might rub you in the wrong way, not in the zoot sense, but he might rub you in the wrong way on certain things. But it should be someone who, like, overall, you look at and go, wow, this guy's really awesome. Especially for 7th century Arabia. He's so awesome. And Muslims only get that result with certain people by lying to them and just making up all kinds of things about Muhammad. That's the only way you get to defend Muhammad. If you actually lay out his life, people are horrified. And like messed up people are horrified. I've mentioned many before, and many people know this about prison. Prison, the worst two things you can be, child molester or snitch. That's bottom of the barrel. So you're talking about a place that's filled with criminals. And if they find out an entire building filled with criminals find out that you have done something to kids, you are going to be living a very sad life while you're in there. It's like they see a problem with it. Criminals see a problem with it. And yet, well, we're supposed to just go, wow, Muhammad's just the obviously greatest guy who ever lived, even when he was proposing marriage to a 1-year-old.
I mean, even just on a mundane, like superficial level, just like the personality flaw, like to complain like up to 3 years later about a meal your wife made. Now granted it was poisoned, but.
All right, let's go here.
Talk about this from different tradition. They become blind to their own traditions. To be clear, according to Islam, a woman cannot be married until she's physically hit the age of puberty.
Liar. Not according to the Quran, not according to your commentators, not according to the Hadith. All of Sharia. He knows that's a lie. Guys, it would be one thing if he said, okay, according to the vast majority of commentators and according to the Quran and so on, but we know through this deep dive, and here's what I believe. That would be one thing. No, Islam, we all agree on this. You liar. You liar. Your fellow Dawa guys don't even agree with you. Oh, boy.
What about the harm principle?
Yeah, what about your harm principle, man? And by the way, that's how the scholars actually apply the harm principle is to things like fistulas and so on. They weren't talking about like hurting a girl or something like that. Because keep in mind, you can beat your wife. So
all 4 schools have fiqh on either she can be 9 or she has to be large enough to be able to handle it without causing a fistula. So without harm or being the age of 9, that is the Sharia fiqh. You have some people that say, oh, well, you should probably wait till she's pubescent, but all of them allow it.
Until her body is ready for marriage, biologically. And according to Islam, if you want to look at traditions, we look at the urf, we look at the local standards of that time. So today, if it's not common for a 12, 13, 14-year-old to get married, then we say don't. We say wait till somebody's 18 or 21 or whatever you want to do.
Really, these guys who, Islam will take over the world, and we've got videos of him, Islam will enter every household, alhamdulillah, and they want to take over and change the legal system and stuff like that. And suddenly on this issue, they're such moral relativists that we just go with whatever the customs of the time are. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Sheikh Uthman? Because Sheikh Uthman, if you're just going with the customs of the time, why were you choking and beating your wife? Putting a gun to her head. That's not according to the customs of our time. Why, when your Dawa buddy sent his wife to you for marital counseling,
Wait, what now?
What?
Oh yeah, Sheikh Uthman's
What did he do?
Oh yeah, one of his wives filed a restraining order saying that he's one of these guys who has to choke women during sex and stuff like this, and he basically was choking her almost unconscious and stuff like this. And if he was mad at her, he'd point a gun at her head and say how he can get away with it and stuff like this. He beat her, talked about smashing a bowl over her face and stuff like this. And so she filed a restraining order against him and stuff like that. It's like, hey, if you're going with the customs of the time and that's the morality. And then he had his Dawa buddy, sends his wife to Sheikh Uthman for marital counseling. They were having a rough patch. Sends his wife to Sheikh Uthman. Then all of a sudden he gets a message that, okay, she's mine now, and something like that. And then he married her. She didn't get a divorce from the other guy. Sheikh Uthman bangs her and then marries her. This woman was married to 2 guys. She never got divorced from the other guy. This is Sheikh Uthman. He
halal.
doesn't even live up to Islamic standards, let alone to everyone else's standards and so on. So what are you doing, dude? And then, hey, Sheikh Uthman, guess what? Putting fake blood on yourself and saying, oh, the kuffar, they stabbed me, oh, the Islamophobes. And then lying and saying the guy was arrested and tried and convicted and all this stuff, and it's all made up. We frown upon that too. You did the same thing Jussie Smollett did. You did the same thing. You probably got the idea from him. How did that work out for him? Did people say, well, that's fine. That's fine because we're okay with that? No, this dude's career was over. So what are you even talking about, dude? Anyway, and then you add all the lying. Guess what? We think lying's pretty messed up if you have to constantly lie to defend your fake prophet. It's wild.
There's some more severe allegations against him from that Dawa guy that he betrayed as well, including like covering up death of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, murder or something like
So-
that in Mexico or something. Killed someone. Or
Not a
covered
great
up or
dude.
something, yeah.
Like his father-in-law, whoever it was. Yeah.
And guys, I mean, everyone who's watching, think about this. Like his life, like totally evil and reprehensible. Everything he says, he can't go 10 seconds without lying. Lie. And he's one of the 2 or 3 most popular Dawa guys on the planet. What is wrong with this religion that the more you lie, the more evil and despicable your behavior is, the more popular you become? What is this? Don't ever lecture us about anything if these are your heroes. Don't do it. You do not get to lecture us on morality when these are your guys. All right.
according to the tradition of the time. But what we don't do is go back in history and try to judge people living according to their custom. But what we don't allow...
That's exactly what Islam did. You condemn the polytheists left and right because of their... Gosh, you can't even... This guy's beyond...
And the Christians and the Jews.
Yeah.
Prepubescent marriages. That is something we do not allow in Islam.
Liar.
And other traditions that criticize Islam don't look into their own traditions. Let's talk about one of the early traditions that we find in the Judo-Christian traditions, because it's...
Did he say Judo-Christian?
Yeah, it's Christians that
did.
throw you on your back. Judo Christians.
Talking about the Judo Christians, everyone.
He misspeaks in several times in the video.
It's judo. No, maybe there's a group of Christians called Judo Christians. All right, so we got the Judo Christian sources. They got their books on how to do judo flips and stuff like that. All right, tell us about the judo flips.
Don't look into their own traditions. Let's
Not
talk
Rashi,
about
it's Musashi.
one of the early traditions that we find in the Judo-Christian traditions, because it's in the Old Testament, in the Bible, with Jews.
What'd you say, Isa?
No, I was showing a judo move.
Oh, he's using
It says
judo.
he's doing a judo. It's judo.
Traditions. Let's talk about one of the early traditions that we find in the Judo-Christian traditions, because
Yes, we got the Judo Christians, the Taekwondo Christians. People are putting Taekwondo Christians, Karate Christians, the Jiu-Jitsu Christians.
MMA.
Those are the Jews. Those are the Messianics, the Jiu-Jitsu Christians. And eventually, all these competed to see who was best. And the Jiu-Jitsu Christians won in the octagon, and then you had MMA. They started combining the Taekwondo Christians with the Jiu-Jitsu Christians with all the others. And then you got the best of all worlds. That's how it worked, everyone. And the Muay Thai Christians.
Chuck Norris is the Pope of Judo Christians.
Oh, man. All right, here we go.
it's in the Old Testament, in the Bible, with Jews and Christians claim that they live by. Now, when we look at ages and different references in the Old Testament, we look at biblical authorities. And the most fundamental, the greatest of these biblical commentaries on the Old Testament is Rashi. Now, Rashi...
Is that
Wow.
correct? Is that correct? That's
Yeah.
the greatest,
Rashi's
greatest biblical commentary?
one of the gold standards on biblical commentary in Judaism, but it's not that Rashi's opinion is held to be true on everything. Rashi also says that the snake in the garden was literally just a snake, but it wanted to have intercourse with Eve. So I don't know if this is where he wants to go with this.
Also, like Ibn Ezra just calls him an idiot at times. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's smoking. Like, yeah, there's so many other rabbis who are part of the Rishonim who are just as authoritative who disagree with Rashi.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Now, just quick question, because you guys studied the Talmud. What solid basis would there be for a Christian to go along with whatever Rashi said? Like, what should that be something
There's
compelling
zero.
to us? Zero.
There's zero reason for a Christian to take anything Rashi says as seriously. He's one of the most he warps biblical prophecy to remove messianic implications from certain passages, heavily involved in polemics. When it comes to messianic prophecy, he kind of takes every opportunity he can to make sure that it doesn't prove anything Christian. Yeah, and he says some pretty crazy stuff. He talks about the when the Israelites were sinning with Baal Peor, like the god that they were worshiping in the desert. It's obviously some kind of sexual ritual or something to do with that, like something to do with nasty sexual perversions with this idol. Rashi decides that they're doing poop stuff with the idol. So yeah, I don't know. Christians should not take Rashi seriously for any other reason other than to understand the polemics from the rabbinic side.
Also, he's not even trying to interpret
It's
it literally.
our-
He's not doing exegesis. He's doing eisegesis most of the time because he's using midrash to add
Right.
context to the passages. So he's not. So what Uthman is doing here is basically saying that tafsir are more important than the Quran. That's the equivalent of what he's doing. Is saying that
Right.
tafsir is more authoritative than the Quran itself. That's the equivalent Islamically of what he's doing to Judaism right here. It's wild.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, like, do his followers have any clue what's going on right now? Would Sheikh Uthman's fans understand what he's saying? And the gold standard, the one everyone, Jews and Christians, all have to go by, is Rashi and his commentary on the Old Testament. You Muslims who are watching, that alone would show he has no clue what he's talking about, or he's the biggest liar on the planet.
He's counting on the ignorance of whoever's watching, because that's nonsense.
Absolutely. So, Muslim, here's what's amazing. He wouldn't go with some of the most popular Muslim commentaries on the planet. These would be classical Muslim scholars. He would reject them over and over and over again. And guess what? On certain issues, you have to, because you can look up a verse. You can go to Qurtubi and look up a verse of the Quran. He'll give you 14 different interpretations. Well, if you want to actually say that one interpretation is correct, you have to reject all the other commentators, what they're saying about it, right? So these guys will reject Muslim commentators. And here he's saying that Christians are bound by Talmudic Jewish commentators, and we have to go with them. And that it's just a rule. We have to go with these commentators, and he can even reject Muslim commentators. Seriously, Muslims, if you had a Jewish commentator who contradicted, and you're looking at the text and you're going, I don't see this anywhere here. And you just say, well, I got to go with what the Jewish rabbi said. Muslims, would you agree with that? If you had a Jewish commentary on a text and you're looking, you're saying, I don't see that in the text at all. Would you say, well, a Jewish rabbi said it, therefore I have to go along with it? That's what he's saying we have to do. If you're saying Rebekah is 3 according to the Torah, and we look at it, we go, that doesn't seem remotely plausible.
Can I steal
Rashi
his position?
Oh
here?
yeah, one second. But you'd have to say, oh, Rashi says it, and therefore even everyone else who said this guy he's wrong. He's obviously wrong. The other rabbis who said he's wrong, we're supposed to say Rashi. We're going with him. Now think, what's the real reason for this? What's the real reason he's saying this? Because that's the result he needs in order to try and defend Muhammad. That's it. That's the reason, right? If some other rabbi had said it, he'd be saying, this rabbi is the one everyone has to go with, and Christians even have to go with this guy. It's total idiotic nonsense. And he can get away with it because his fans are too insanely stupid to ever realize what's going on. But go ahead, Ash.
Yeah, so to steelman his position, right, he's not claiming necessarily that Christians ought to accept Rashi, right? But he is implying that because Rashi is like a gold standard scholar, that would mean that there's at least some credibility, right? That's, I guess, the best you could steelman his position. But that also falls apart because there's other rabbis who are as credible as Rashi who disagree. The only other thing he could go to is where Jews will say about various rabbis who are respected. They'll say, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chaim, which means these and these are both opinions of words of the living God, which is basically saying like, oh, all these great scholars are right in some capacity, but we don't necessarily know how the wrong one is right, and we'll find out at some point, and maybe when the Messiah comes or something like that. But that would imply also that there could be a mystical meaning or something to that idea, meaning it doesn't mean it's that every rabbi's literal interpretation is correct. There could be some kind of mystical opinion behind it, and we just don't know what it is. So even in the most steelman version of what he's implying here, it still doesn't say that we have to accept in any capacity that that's what the plain text of the Bible is teaching.
That is correct.
But he's going to destroy your own Steelman in a couple of minutes because he's going to make a statement that is going to blow you away.
Oh, cool. So yeah, get ready for
one
it.
of the dumbest statements I've ever heard.
Ruin his own steelman.
Hey, I just wanted to point out here, remember the challenge to Firu 22? So he said, Rebekah was 3 years old according to the Bible. And what did I say? I said chapter and verse, right? Chapter and verse. Show us where the Bible says this. We finally got the response, everyone. Where in the Bible does it say Rebekah was 3? Firu 22 says, hey, David Wood, you can check out Ketubot 11b6. Firu, do you have any clue how stupid you sound to anyone? Anyone
They
who
don't
has
know
any
what
familiarity.
They don't know what the Bible.
You don't even know what the Bible. That's not in the. Which chapter of the Bible is that? Which book of the Bible is that? Is that in?
Uthman is about to say the Talmud is part of the Bible, by the way.
Oh my goodness! All right, let's go back to this, guys. You can see where they get it, right? That's
what I was telling you. That's where
That's
where they could try to get rid of the Islamic dilemma, with the claim that the rabbis accept the oral Torah as fully authoritative, and so when it says to consult with the people of the book, it doesn't necessarily mean the scripture itself. It could mean the rabbis who are keepers of the oral Torah, but even then it would fall apart because it's contradicted by the oral Torah of Judaism as well. But if that's the claim that he's trying to build, is that the oral Torah of the rabbis is part of the Bible, which is nuts.
Oh, yeah. So Firu, challenge remains because you failed miserably. You didn't give us a verse of the Bible. We said chapter and verse of the Bible that says Rebekah was 3, or some combination of verses that can be used to calculate the age of 3. Firu, like seriously, what does it take for you to realize you're following liars? Everything you say is a lie. You're not inventing this. You're getting it from liars. And right when it's put in front of you over and over again that this is a lie, how do you keep just going along with the same liar who keeps telling you the lies that get you embarrassed like this? Why? How? Like if I was told by my favorite Christian scholar says this, and I run out with it and I say, yeah, everyone, hey, check this out. And then it gets exposed as a complete lie. Okay, that might not be enough because I can say, okay, maybe he believed something he was told and this just wasn't his particular area and he got something wrong. If that keeps happening over and over again, it's not going to take long. It's not going to take long before I don't trust this guy anymore. In Dawa, you can expose 1,000 lies in a row and they'll still go back to the exact same guys. Keep in mind, these are the exact same guys who told you one Quran, perfectly preserved, dot for dot, letter for letter. Was that true? No, it was a lie. You'll still just keep going back to them. What is it about your religion that makes you love lies? You love lies and you love liars. And the bigger liar someone is, the more you worship them. What is this? What is this religion? Is this the truth? Does the true religion need to constantly lie? No. A false religion that is demonic and is an antichrist religion would need lies. And so, hope you can figure that out. I'm just hoping the 40 generations of first cousin marriage hasn't destroyed your ability to understand. But here we go. Let's see.
If you want to know who is a Rashi, because sometimes if you're not academic, you may not realize the standard of a Rashi. Here is a rabbi that's going to tell you the standing of this commentary, Rashi's commentary, according to Jewish tradition.
Rashi stands for Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki. It's an acronym, Resh Shin Yud, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, who lived in the 11th century. He wrote a very fundamental commentary, which is the most fundamental commentary, arguably, on all of Tanakh. However, his commentary on the 5 books of Moses is much more extensive than his commentaries on the other books of Tanakh. Therefore, reading his commentary on 5 books of Moses is more or less indispensable. If you can't understand Hebrew, get an English translation and use the commentary of Rashi.
No, you look at this is
By the way,
called
David,
What's up?
Ketubot 11b, just so you know, has nothing to do with Rebekah. It's about the laws of a
The 3-year-old.
woman's marriage contract if she was raped at a minor age, and how you treat her and when she becomes a marriageable age later on, and how much her marriage contract is worth. It has nothing to do with permitting anything with minors.
So, Fairu,
Yeah.
I asked you,
I have Nida as well to pull up.
Fairu, I asked you chapter and verse, and then I asked you chapter and verse from the Bible because you said the Bible says it. I asked you for chapter and verse. Then you couldn't, so you went outside the Bible, and then you didn't even get a passage that says she was...
Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulillah. We get the
I thought that was me.
Nope, I think we should be back on. 1 second.
Yeah, we're back.
That's twice in a row, guys. It's 2 days in a row, guys. It's starting to creep me out. Hey, everyone, refresh. Tell everyone to refresh the stream. I see some of you.
Yeah.
I see some of you pointing it out. You got to refresh. Sometimes there'll be an audio problem, but yeah, that's 2 days in a row been suddenly kicked. That's kind of weird.
I'm also considering switching away from Ecamm to Restream because I don't want it to happen where it like ends a stream in the middle. Whereas if Restream or StreamYard, you get kicked out, you can go back in. It doesn't ruin your stream. But
We just went right back in.
right, because you went in fast enough. But if you were to actually, the stream were to cut because of the connection, you'd lose the stream with Ecamm because it's not browser based. So I like Ecamm, but I'm considering switching at some point.
StreamYard's good. I mean, there's a decent bit of limitations, but it's pretty good.
I'm wondering how many of those times it's going to happen or if this is like a new thing or something like this. Hey, check it out, though. Fairu says, according to Seder Olam Rabbah, chapter 1, and as interpreted by Rashi on Genesis 25:20, Rebekah was 3 years old at the time of marriage to Isaac. Fairu, are you listening to anything we're saying? We're talking about Rashi right
Seder
now.
Olam Rabbah also cuts like 250 years out of the era of the Persian Empire because it messes up some dates. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I
And it's
have
also
Seder
not the
Olam
Bible.
Rabbah in my... Yeah, we can go through that. I have that pulled up.
They don't even know what this is. That's the
No,
funny thing.
they don't. Hey, Fairu, let me read. Let me read Genesis 25:20 to you. Genesis 25:20 says, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Anything in the... So notice the challenge was show us in the Bible because you said the Bible says it. There isn't one word about the age of Rebekah there. Not one word. So where are you getting it from, sport? Where are you getting... All you have to do is... Dude, all you have to do is say, I had no clue what I'm talking about. I'm completely ignorant. And I keep getting my information for Dawa. That's why I'm wrong every single time. That's all you have to do. And you can't do it. Anyway, dude. Just, and I seriously don't understand, like, Dawa culture that you can lie, get exposed, come back, tell another lie, get exposed, come back, tell another, and there's like no like shame in it. It's just understood. This is part of how things do. We keep just making things up that we got from the dumb Dawa guys. What is this? How are you not embarrassed? How are you not embarrassed that you keep just lying like this? Can you give chapter and verse from the Bible that says how old Rebekah was? Just say no. And I made the mistake of believing a Dawa liar. It's so simple, but you can't do it. All right. Do we remember where we were?
I mean, the question for this Fairu guy, do you really believe that dying on this hill is the main thing about saving your religious view? Or could you potentially concede this and then argue some other point? Like, why is this the hill you want to die on?
And it's like obsessed. Like, you have to go with this much later commentary to conclude that Rebekah was 3. Why? Why are you so obsessed with making Isaac a pedo and accusing Abraham and Moses and God of all thinking this is okay when you claim to respect them all? Hey, Fairu, let me ask, do you believe it's okay to have sex with a 3-year-old? Do you believe it? Do you believe it's morally okay for a grown man to have sex with a 3-year-old? Do you believe it's okay? Fairuz said, this is so dumb, guys. I don't know. Should I block him? This is just getting, should I block him or just ignore him? This is like beyond stupid. I'd rather believe a Jewish rabbi than David Wood. Which Jewish rabbi? Because other Jewish rabbis said he's completely wrong. So which Jewish rabbi? You mean the one that Sheikh Uthman told you have to go with so that you can accuse actual prophets of being pedos? Fairu, tell me you think it's morally acceptable to have sex with a 3-year-old. Go ahead and say that. And if you believe it's wrong, why are you accusing Isaac and Abraham and Moses and God of all being fine with it? Why are you doing this? You're exposing your religion as being a demonic antichrist religion that is obsessed with attacking God and true prophets. That's what you're showing us right now. And it's pretty darn creepy, man. All right. Don't remember exactly where we were. Let's see.
Commentaries on the Old Testament is Rashi. Now,
how far were we past that?
Now,
did he say
Rashi, if you want to...
Yeah, he did. He does multiple times.
It's Rashi.
Like 20 seconds forward.
About 20 seconds forward, you said?
Yeah, 20 or 30.
Oh, yeah, we went through this. We went through this. Okay.
I can't believe that this guy is justifying this disgusting thing. Like, it's really shocking that a person would, that they're saying, let me prove this point to defend this disgusting thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and
he's going to go through Mary as well.
Obsessed with it. It's creepy. All right, here we go.
Is called the most fundamental commentary, the one you cannot do without, the most essential commentary of the first 5 books of the Torah. Yani the first 5 books of the Talmud, which is the Torah, the Old Testament. The most relied upon commentary. What does Rashi say about the age of Rebekah in accordance to biblical text? He does not come up with his own opinion. He actually gives the opinion with references. For when Abraham came back from Mount Moriah after the binding of Isaac, and then as you notice in Hebrew, he gives references for each segment that he's putting forward. He was informed that Rebekah was born, and Isaac was 37-year-old at the time. For it was at that juncture that Sarah died, and from that time Isaac was born until the binding. When Sarah died, there were 37 years, for she was 90 years old when Isaac was born, and 127 years old when she died. As it says, and he gives the references here as well, Sarah's life was, and then he gives the reference again. Now Isaac was 37 years old when Sarah died, and at that juncture Rebekah was born. According to Rashi, at that juncture Rebekah was born. He waited for her that she would become
the problem with that.
What's up?
The problem with that is in that same juncture, so are her siblings, and so is her father, because it's listing the descendants who were born to that family. So in the same time where it says Rebekah's born, I believe it says, and this is Bethuel, and this is the father of Rebekah.
Yep.
Or something like that. So so her father was also born at that juncture when she is born.
Yep.
And that's like, that doesn't say anything. That just, Abraham's being told about the descendants of his brother who are born.
9 people.
In several generations.
All at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and toss it up
all
there.
Brothers.
So guys, this is and by the way, everyone watching, whenever Muslims try to calculate the age of Rebekah from the Bible, whenever they try and, if you go here, it says she was this, and over here it says Sarah was 127 and this and that, and they try to put together the math and stuff, they always have to make this embarrassingly terrible mistake right here at the end of Genesis 22. So guys, in order to calculate the age of Rebekah from the Bible, you need to make this blunder. So this is Abraham and Isaac, story of Abraham and Isaac and stuff. And at the end here, it says, sometime later, Abraham was told, Milcah is also a mother. So he hears news from back home. He left home. He left home many decades earlier, right? And sometime later, Abraham was told, Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz the firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also had sons, Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. Okay, so you got this passage. Abraham hears news from home. He hasn't heard from home in a long time, and he hears about all the family members that had been born since he left them. News reaches him, right? This is before internet or telephones or anything, so you have to meet someone who's traveling from home, and then, hey, wait, you're Abraham. Hey, I know your family, and he hears news from home. In order to get the age of Rebekah, they have to say, right now, this is when Rebekah was born. And they say, so, right there in Genesis 22, right after the story about Abraham and Isaac, the sacrifice of Isaac and so on, right after that, that's when Rebekah was born. You say, why would you think Rebekah's born there? Well, that's when Abraham hears about it. Okay, that's when he hears about all these people being born. Were they all just born right then? That's the point. It makes absolutely
her father.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, they got this weird they got this weird
Unless
Russian
what he's
nesting
saying
doll
is that
theory.
the father can eternally beget the son at the same time and always have existed.
Yeah, they have this weird Russian nesting doll situation, right? Where this guy's born, but also is born inside. His little kid and stuff like that is born at the same time. That's the point. I don't care if you're the greatest Old Testament commentator of all time. I don't care if you're the gold standard of rabbis, whatever. If you read that and you say that must be right when she was born, you have to have a better argument. You have to have some sort of argument, because right there, it just lists a bunch of people he heard about who are his relatives.
So
and
if
yet
you bring
they
that back
need
up
that.
to it,
They need it to say this is when she was born. And they'll just say, okay, this says this is when she was born. They all do this. All the Dawa guys who use this stupid argument say, and that's when she was born, right then. And then they calculate, they do the math. Doesn't say she was born right then. That's when Abraham heard who his relatives are that he didn't know about. Total nonsense. And they need it, and they keep doing it. Anyway, what are you saying?
Can you bring the Bible back up real quick?
Yep. What do you want?
So the NIV,
same passage.
Just that same passage. The NIV translators there, if you notice in verse 22, they end the print or the quotation marks there. So in 23, it's not part of the quote that is being told to him from 20 to 22. Why do the translators have the quotation marks ending there? Well, the next sentence in Hebrew is Vav Betuel Yalda et Rebekah. So it is a Vav followed by a perfect tense of a verb with yald to like beget, to birth, which is also the word for boy. But it means that he birthed Rebekah. It's a disjunctive clause in the grammar of the Hebrew there. So it is not within the report itself. It is an aside by the author, giving knowledge that the author has that was not revealed to Abraham at the time. So the reason why Bethuel became the father of Rebekah is not in the quotation marks there, is because it wasn't what was told to him by the messenger. So they can't even make that argument.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Jewish law.
All right, Phiro. Yeah, I'm done with you, buddy. I'll go ahead and put your stupid comment up. Oh my goodness.
By the way, not only that,
Phiro, this is your last time. This is your last chance. You say, according to Seder Olam Rabbah, chapter 1, you posted the same thing. And as interpreted by Rashi in Genesis 25:20, we literally read Genesis 25:20. Rebekah was 3 years old at the time of her marriage to, okay. We're saying the argument makes no sense because it's not what the text says. There's your last chance. Say, I can't find any verse of the Bible that says Rebekah was 3. If you do not, I can't take you seriously, even seriously enough to have a conversation with you, because you're a chronic compulsive liar. Say you can't. You don't even have to say there isn't one. Just say you can't locate any verse or combination of verses in the Bible that says Rebekah was 3. Say it. I'm giving you 20 seconds, or I'm blocking you, dude. We don't have time for this. We're trying to watch a video, and you're posting like the absolute most idiotic responses ever. You don't even know what the Bible is, and I can barely fault you because the guys you listen to for all your information don't even know what the Bible is. Blind leading the blind.
The Bible, the Talmud.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to continue? I'm going to go ahead and block Firu. I can't. It's just too annoying. It's too dumb.
To be fair, Sheikh Uthman did too. He called the Bible the Talmud, or the Talmud the Bible.
That's
he said
what
the
I'm
first
saying.
5 books of the Talmud,
which is the Torah.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point. You can say, okay, I was listening to him, but yeah, he didn't know what he was talking about, so I changed right now. I changed, but he's not. They just keep going with it.
It's
just
so
sad.
funny.
It's just sad. And
Ironically,
ridiculous.
that's exactly what Muhammad did for the Talmudic dilemma too. So Uthman is actually doing the same thing Muhammad did that created the Talmudic dilemma to begin with, because he doesn't know what the Talmud is, he doesn't know what the Torah is, he doesn't know what the Bible is, but he thinks they're all the same thing, and he doesn't even know that Rashi's not even part of the Talmud, which is really funny. Rashi comes 500 years after the Talmud.
This is bad, guys.
Anyway.
This is really bad and stupid. All right, let's play this.
Fit for marital relation. This is according to Rashi. When is she ready for sexual marital relations? She says 3 years old. 3 years old. Read it. Now, and then he says he married her at the age of 3. This is according to the Bible, according to Rashi.
Did you just say according to the Bible, according to Rashi?
Now, I want to be clear. This is not my view. I don't believe she was 3 years old. I don't believe Ishaq alayhi salam, a prophet of Allah, would marry a 3-year-old. I condemn anybody trying to marry a 3-year-old.
Okay, so just to be clear, Sheikh Uthman, you're saying Rashi is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying Rashi is wrong, but you're demanding we all go with Rashi. Guys, you hear that? I do not. What is Sheikh Uthman saying? Rashi is wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's getting this wrong. It's an embarrassment. Don't listen to him. But you have to listen to him and accept this. What are we watching? This is beyond stupid at this point. This is Dawa, guys. This is Dawa. All right.
But I'm showing you that according to the biblical scholars, the most fundamental relied upon commentary on the Old Testament, according to Jewish law, she was 3 years old, and I want to make...
According to Jewish law, guys, according to Jewish law, Jewish law says whatever Rashi says, you go with it. Even if he's obviously wrong according to the text, you go with it.
Ash, when was Jewish law from the Mishnah and the Gemara? When was that finished? And was it before the time of Rashi?
I mean, the first time you see like codified Jewish law really is Maimonides, so just slightly before, but that's like Maimonides' own like personal one.
Mishnah Torah.
Really, the first one you have is like Shulchan Aruch later. There's some in before, but it develops over time. Like this has nothing to do with Jewish law. Like Rashi's commentary is not a legal commentary. Like it has nothing to do with Jewish rulings on things. It's a purely interpretive commentary. Whereas Maimonides comments on the Bible, but also interprets law. Rashi doesn't do that. Rashi doesn't have a codified law of any kind. So he's mixing Talmud, Torah, Jewish law with Jewish commentary and calling them all the same thing to justify that Jews believe this.
And Midrash, yeah.
When, by the way, one of the actual foremost scholars in Jewish history, the Vilna Gaon, actually does like an analysis from, I think it's something about the ages and dates given at the time of Joseph, and works his way back instead to check if this is correct, and arrives at an age of like 14 or 15 for Rebekah.
I thought it was older than that, but yeah.
Maybe older than that.
I think it was like 30 or something like that, but
oh yeah, his is older. There's another rabbi
30,
who gets it like 14, 15, and then the Vilna Gaon is like 20 something, almost 30. It's like,
and
this is not
he
consensus
actually uses
among
that
Jews
as
in any
proof.
capacity.
Yeah, he uses that as proof that she was older because it's 20 years of them trying to have kids and they're not able to have kids. So he says, oh, well, because she was an older woman whenever they started having kids, and older women have a harder time getting pregnant, that makes sense. So even some of the like most authoritative sources we have, almost all of them say she's 14, by the way. Almost all of them do, including the source Rashi is quoting from, which I can pull up if you want to pull up my screen. I can show them what the source actually says that Rashi is using, because it's not just 3. It's hilarious. It says that she was 14 explicitly, and then it has in parentheses, alternatively 3. So in the Hebrew itself, it says that she was for sure 14, and then the minority opinion was 3, and that he used Seder Olam Rabbah, which was a couple hundred, 1,000 years or so before him, and then he used that, the alternative reading, as his standard.
Yeah,
so
I
he's
just checked. The Vilna Gaon says
combining the binding
14
of
based on the
Isaac.
primary understanding for Seder Olam Rabbah being 14, and the Vilna Gaon working back asserts 14 as the age.
So
Okay.
just to be clear, he's quoting an earlier commentary which says 14 and then gives as a little minority view, if you wanted to say that's right when she was born or something like that, 3. He goes with a minority view on this commentary, and now Sheikh Uthman says we're bound by that somehow. Is that right? Okay. Let me zoom through these. I just realized, because someone put, do they see the super chats on here? They kind of erased all of them before it got shut down and then restarted. I'm just going to read them real quick. I can't put them on the screen because I don't have them anymore, but I have them on in the chat here. What was the Ida for Malik's mutta with the Watcher? Don't know. That's loaves of bread. Just a Reflection says, enough of the bollocks. Who is the real Sheikh Yabudi? We don't know. Baz the Dark Horse says, Rebekah is on roids. The thumbnail's the proof. You see, Untruth Man is right. Untruth Man. That's one of Sheikh Uthman's many names. I think he has more names than Allah now.
99.
Yeah. Shake and Bake. Shake and Bake Uthman got a stupid argument again. Yes, he does. Let's see. SRB 300 says, the less you know about Islam, the more decent you are. Yeah, definitely. Accepting his marriage with Aisha, that you can treat your wife however you want, and that non-Muslims are the worst of all peoples tends to warp your brain. And the result is Sheikh Uthman and his followers. Quran just says, PD says, Quran just says Aisha's age. Uthman needs calculus for Rebekah's age. Yeah. Well, it's just, you have 200 sources saying Aisha was 9, and he'll even try to do gymnastics to avoid that conclusion. Until this video, he's always said, no, she's wrong. She's wrong. She didn't know. She didn't remember. She got it wrong. But we have to go with a particular Jewish rabbi, even when he's obviously wrong, according to the text. The Mule says Rebekah was 3, but they didn't start counting on age until girls started puberty. Lol, what's my proof? Oh, trust me, bro. I'll use Muslim logic. There are Muslims who say that. Dawa Troll says Isa is a perfect example of the great Mahdi. That's true. You can tell by the beanie. SRB says, quick rundown. Why is Isa not a Christian? What are the core issues with Christianity do you have with it that prevent you from converting? We get asked that basically every time, so we can't keep answering it every live stream. Tank Imperative says, if you adjust for infant mortality rates, life expectancy in that time was generally around 55 to 60. Some estimate 60s to 70s, though that is highly disputed. Yeah, so that's a response to people who say, but they died younger then, and the life expectancy is only in the 30s, and so you had to marry young. That's if you factor in like child deaths and infant mortality and stuff like that. Once you've survived infanthood and toddlerhood and early childhood and so on, your life expectancy shot up. Carrie Ann says, on the Dr. Daft debate with Christina and the 12 Muslim women, the Muslimas contradicted each other, justifying and lying about Aisha's age. One said they would give her daughter to Momo. Islam is sick. Yeah, we'll be watching that in the next couple of days, guys. We're going to go through it. Grammarai says Uthman is just impersonating Simon and Garfunkel, the boxer. Oh, yeah. Lie, la, lie. Lie, la, lie, 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 la, lie. Good song. Bass Pro Flop says, if the Prophet and his companions represent the gold standard for society, does prohibiting child marriage technically constitute a deviation from the Islamic ideal and Islamic moral dilemma? Oh, yeah, if you wanted to prohibit it, that might be a problem. Songs of Release said, Chris, how many hours did it take to research all these? Impressive.
For the Talmudic stuff or for this video? For this video, about 2.5 hours. Because he just had so many lies. I had to fact check. I had to fact check literally every lie that he said, which took a stupid amount of time. A lot of them I already knew.
That's pretty quick, though.
Well, a lot of it I already knew. So he
okay.
was telling lies I've already studied, and I could just pull up the sources from memory. But some of I had to. It took me a stupid amount of time plus a wonderful Reddit post to find the Delaware law, and I found the case law. So then I started reading through the case law to find that. So that took about like an hour just doing the case law for Delaware and for the rest of the country too. Because then I went down a rabbit hole, and the Smithsonian had a pretty good history of it. So I spent a good bit of time just reading through all of the American standards. But for the Talmud stuff, it's been over a year, just about a year now.
Yannick Petsu said Genghis Khan, Richard Branson, Joe Rogan, John Lennon. Don't remember what that's in response to. Yannick Petsu said in the 1880s, age of consent was 7 in Delaware. Well, he already responded to that. Bass Pro Flops, ex-Muslim here, couldn't handle the cognitive dissonance. I get the urge to hold on to a good Islam while being honest about ugly parts of the faith. It's a nuanced path to walk. My sympathies to Isa. Yeah, it can be difficult. Speedrunner says Abraham married his half-sister. Jacob was a cheater. Judah drove his DIL to pro and yet, daughter-in-law. And yet somehow he thinks Rebekah, 3 years old, is a good counterexample. PD says Rebekah was David Goggins at 3. Yeah. Phil says Aisha mature. Maybe Islam years are like dog years. They have to say something like that. Songs of Release says, remember Adnan Rashid calling out Sheikh Uthman? No, but wouldn't surprise me. Loaves of Bread says barbecue zut rub for pork butt and super spicy zut curry. Gross. Eunuch Petsu says lie. Muhammad sure lie. Younger Hill says we need edit of original video where every lie he says has a pop-up with a source proving the lie and a super short synopsis in rapid fire on YouTube. That's what I suggested. So Rashi was Slavoj Zizek of the time. Cult says, it says Rebekah was 3 in the book of First Nicaea. Yeah, that's right. Dawa
First
Troll.
Nicaeans.
Okay, there we go. All right, now we're up to the ones. Now we're up to the super chats after the great destruction. All right, what do you want to do? Do you want to go up on the screen?
Oh yeah, my thing.
All right, here we go. Whoops. I keep doing that. What the heck is wrong with me? There you go.
So this is Rashi. This is what he was quoting from earlier, and it has in this version, the English on Sephora, that it's from Seder Olam. This is what he's quoting from. So whenever we actually check Seder Olam, what does it say? At the time of the binding of Isaac, it also has AAAC, which I thought was funny, was 37, and Abraham dwelled in the land of the Philistines many days. Ayak. These were more years than he spent in Hebron, which was 25. His dwelling in Philistine lands was 26. At the time Rebekah was born, and Isaac married Rebekah when she was 14, alternatively 3. Well, whenever we look at the actual Hebrew, it is saying essentially exactly the same thing. There it is. So whenever he is marrying Rebekah, then we see that this is Yod Dalet, so this is Gematria. So it's 10 plus 4, so 14, or 3. Then it has just the 1 dash to denote that's just a single number. So 2 dashes to denote the numbers. You start one number, you end the rest, and then 1 dash just to denote a single number. Instead of like doing like Shalom or Shalosh, whatever 3 is. Instead of spelling it out, they just do the letters, kind of like Roman numerals. So it's just straight up saying that Rebekah is 14, and then it has as an option 3. And the vast majority of the scholars are saying that she is 14. Why? Because of the words used to describe her and the feat that she actually did. So because she's called a Nara and an Alma, but Nara is actually a legal term in the Talmud. So the rabbis started creating legal terms. Some of them I think that was just invented. I haven't seen them in the Torah. Of the reading I've done, maybe Ash can correct me there, but Nara is actually in the Torah too. So they took this term Nara, which is applied to a variety of women in the Bible, specifically Rebekah. And then they also, she's also called an Isha and other words like Betula. You wouldn't call a 3-year-old a virgin. It's kind of creepy. And then so the fact that she's called a Nara, they use as a source text to show that she was at least 13. And then most of them will push it up to 14. So they do some math. They say, oh, well, she's like 12 and a half. So she was like 11 or whatever. And then they count up to 14. But 14 is the accepted standard within the other rabbinic writings, including other rabbis at the time of Rashi who disagreed with him, like Ibn Ezra and Rashbam and Ramban and some of these other dudes who are just disagreeing with him. So he's appealing to an authority that is taking the minority view from the original source that pretty much every other important rabbi of the time is disagreeing with him, and they're using it like Ramban says, Nachmanides, he says that she watered 10 camels, therefore she obviously couldn't be a child. Ibn Ezra is like, oh yeah, Narab means that she's not a child, she would at least be a teenager. And Rashbam says that she is an adult based on the characteristics of the text. And then even the Tosafot, the later commentaries, say that she is 14. So pretty much all the sources say this. So Rashi is in the minority across all of it. Then we'll get through the rest of the Talmud passages whenever he lies again in a couple of seconds, if you want to go back to the video. And we'll pull these back up.
Ash, before we jump out, anything you wanted to add based on any of this?
Yeah, I would only say also, like somebody's pointing out in the chat, there's also the concept in Judaism of the Irusin versus the Kiddushin. So even if you were to grant the 3-year-old status, the best case you could say is that it was a betrothal, like she was promised to him at 3, and then at 14 is when they actually got married. Like even according to the minority view that would say 3. I still think it's ridiculous. I don't know why you would think that the number 3 is valid there. It's just based on that messed up idea that like, oh, because she's mentioned right there. I still don't buy that, and most Jews don't buy that. The fact of the matter is, though, even according to that view, there is a very clear separation between Irusin and Kiddushin in like Jewish thought and biblical law and that kind of stuff as relates to marriage. So,
yeah, but Seder Olam Rabbah and Bereshit Rabbah are kind of the source text for Isaac being 37 at the binding, and then they do everything else with that. But there's other rabbis who don't even think he was 37 at the binding. There's differences of opinions on his age. So if Isaac's age is different at the binding, then you can't calculate Rebekah's age. So there's so many ways you can disprove this idea from rabbinic sources. Are you muted, David?
Oh, sorry about that. That's a super weird comment. Look at this. I noticed your watch got lost, David. What? You guys have never seen me without this watch on. Casio. Don't know what
I actually am wearing a watch that I haven't worn in years because it ran out of battery and I just never replaced it. But I actually found out how to replace the battery in this watch myself and did it today.
I just get this weird. I just get this weird thing that somehow recharges itself as I move around and stuff like that, and so it lasts forever. Weird stuff. All right, let's jump back into this. I don't even know how we're going to finish this unless he stops lying for long enough to. Let's see.
A point here, and I'm going to put these references on the screen.
Oh, good.
This is not just a Rashi's opinion. It's not like a one-off, like, okay, Rashi was off. If you look at the sources of Jewish law, if you look at the Talmud, for example, and the Tanaitic sources, the Mishnah, Nida 5:4, chapter 5:4, it says, a girl who is 3 years and 1 day old is betrothed through intercourse. So Jewish law.
Did he say betrothed?
He did. Betrothed.
Right.
Which, according to our Christians, would be
He
their
also said
law
the
because they
Tanaitic
do say they believe
sources.
in the.
He also said the
He said
Tanaitic sources.
That's what I would say. Yeah. Anyway, my pronunciation.
Yeah, but he's pretending to be a scholar.
One second.
What's up?
He just said something wild, though. If you go back 2 seconds, he said something wild that we missed.
I backed it up a little bit. Let's see.
Jewish law, which, according to our Christians, would be their law because they do say they believe in the Old Testament, same God according to them.
And when we say, so multiple stupid things there. One, he thinks we believe we're under Old Testament law. Two, that according to him, when we think of Old Testament law that we're under, we're thinking of Talmudic Judaism and all of its interpretations, and we think we're under that. According to Sheikh Uthman, who's telling people about the Bible and Christianity and factual information about the age of Rebekah here.
This is
he either has no clue what he's talking about or he's a liar.
True Israel. Oh yeah, all the goyim for the actual rabbis versus the apostles.
Perfect time to plug the shirt.
Yeah,
Nice.
You with them.
All right.
Yeah, as a Jew who's now a Christian, no Christians are not bound by Jewish law of the rabbis. Sorry to inform you.
But Christians will say they believe in Jewish law. Sheikh Uthman says it.
Yeah, I think later on he says that Christians have to accept Rashi. Like,
let's see.
it's just
States,
amazing.
based on biblical evidences, that a girl who's 3 years and 1 day old is ready not just to be betrothed, not just for engagement, no, for intercourse. As Muslims, we don't believe that.
Guys, did you just catch that? He said based on biblical principle. Where?
He has not brought up a single thing from the Bible yet.
Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. If a rabbi says something, big picture of the problem. If a rabbi says something that has no basis in the Bible, I would have no reason to believe what he's saying, right? If he is saying something, if the rabbi is saying something from the Bible, you don't need to point to the rabbi, show me in the Bible, right? In other words, if the rabbi, if you say 3 years, yes, 3 years. Okay, if the rabbi, because Sheikh Uthman just said it. He said, yes, based on biblical principles, you can have sex with a 3-year-old, yes. Okay, you should, if it's based on biblical principles, you should be able to show that. But you can't, which is why he's pointing to the rabbis who definitely don't mean what he thinks they mean.
Yeah, I mean, he's also misquoting them, but that's,
Yes. So I want to bring up what he just quoted from the Mishnah, because he is entirely mischaracterizing what's happening, and I have it on my screen. So he did technically quote it correctly. So a girl who was 3 years old in 1 day, whose father arranged her betrothal, was betrothed through intercourse, as the halakhic status of intercourse with that of the intercourse of all other halakhic senses. So what it's saying here is that a girl who has had intercourse after the age of 3 years and 1 day is in the same category as women who have intercourse across the board. Why are they saying this? Well, if they keep reading the Mishnah, it's specifically because of the way the hymen, their view of the hymen. So if the girl is less than that age, younger than 3 years and 1 day, the status of intercourse with her is not that of intercourse in all halakhic senses. Rather, it is like placing a finger in the eye. Just as in that case, the eye constricts, sheds tears, and returns to its original state, so to a girl younger than 3 years and 1 day old, the hymen returns to its original state. Now, all this is added. It's not actually in the Hebrew and Aramaic there. But this is still the interpretation. So what they're saying is, if a girl is 3 years or younger, they believe that if the hymen were to break for whatever reason, because they are so young and young children heal quickly, that if a hymen were to break at that age, the girl would automatically regrow her hymen in full, and she would be a virgin still. So halakhically, so in Jewish law, there's a difference in how women are treated if they're virgins or not virgins when it comes to marriage, when it comes to dowry, when it comes to lots of different things. So for them, they need to know, is this girl a virgin or not if she was abused as a child? So they have an age cutoff of when it was and when it wasn't. So that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about what is good. They're not encouraging this. They're not even really allowing this. They're just saying, hey, if a girl's at this point, her hymen will not regrow. That's the focus. If you go to Kiddushin 41a, paragraph 8, the Mishnah teaches a man can betroth his daughter to a man when she is a young woman, a nara specifically here, right there. But the Gemara infers when she is a young woman, yes, he can betroth her. When she is a minor, no, he cannot betroth her. This statement supports the opinion of Rav, as Rav Yehuda says, and that Rav says, and some say it was said by Rabbi Elazar, It is prohibited for a person to betroth his daughter to a man when she is a minor until such time that she grows up and says, I want to marry so-and-so. So it is based on their testimony and their understanding and their maturity if she can be married, and she cannot marry a minor. Specifically, a minor. So, Nara, you can betroth, which is a young woman, so late teenager, mid-teenager. A child cannot be betrothed in Jewish law. And then you even have in Yevamot 33b, paragraph 12, and the Gemara comments, this too stands to reason from the fact that the latter clause teaches if they were female minors and unable to bear children, then we immediately return them. And if this had been done intentionally, it would be permitted to return a woman who had been engaged in illicit sexual acts with her husband. The Gemara comments, this is not difficult and does not disprove the notion that when the act is intentional, even if the act was intentional, those women be permitted to return to their households. This is because the seduction of a minor girl is considered grape, and after grape, a woman is permitted to return to an Israelite husband. So they consider having intercourse with a minor, even if they're married or not married, is that. So you're not allowed to marry them. And if you do have intercourse with them, it's not good. At no point in time does any of the rabbis of the Talmud advocate for anyone to marry a 3-year-old. Whatsoever, period. I'm not a fan of the Talmud. Surprise, surprise. I'm not a Jew. I don't, even if I was a Jew, I would definitely not be a rabbinic Jew because they disagree with the Bible all the time. This is a lie.
What's a lie? What's
I
in
mean,
the Talmud
he's
or
also-
Sheikh Uthman?
Sheikh Uthman. Sheikh Uthman's
yeah.
lying about them being able to marry 3-year-olds.
There's also another layer here, right? So he doesn't understand what the Talmud is. The Talmud is not the Torah, as he said multiple times.
Yeah.
You say the oral Torah or whatever. The Talmud is not the 5 books of Moses, as he's insinuating. The Talmud is also broken down by tractates. So there's all these discussions that are going on between rabbis from around the 3rd century to around the 6th century. And they're being compiled, but they're not being compiled in chronological order. They're being compiled by subject matter. So he's quoting from like Nida, which is talking about the laws pertaining to ritual impurity of a woman, doesn't give any clarity or verification on what's allowed in a marriage or what age of woman you're allowed to marry. It's only talking about the ritual purity of that woman and the status in whatever number of cases. If you're talking about the legal contract of marriage, that's in Ketubot. If you're talking about the actually what marriage is and how one comes to be married, that would be in Kiddushin. If you're talking about the laws of divorce, that would be in Gittin, right? It's not affirming that anything that's brought up as an event that happened while discussing laws of ritual purity, that is implying what's allowed for marriage or permitted for marriage. It's saying if this happened, and then in that you're saying, well, why are they discussing it at all? It's also a dialectic. So he doesn't know how the Talmud works. The Talmud is not citing opinions that are then codified as law because it's in the Talmud. There's a dialectic going on. There's oftentimes when rabbis in the Talmud are giving opinions that are on way opposite ends of the spectrum and then coming to a halachic conclusion based on what's being discussed afterwards, like how it gets to its final conclusion. I don't know if he knows what a dialectic is, and maybe he just missed that point. But yeah, it's just a ridiculous claim that because this is in the Talmud, therefore it means that Torah law permits it, because Torah law actually, like even according to the rabbis, prohibits it. And it says that all throughout in multiple occasions in all different ways of saying it. So yeah, again, not I don't follow what the Talmud tells me, but regardless, it's an untrue statement about what the Talmud is and how it works and what it's saying.
So just to recap, seeing if I'm understanding here, Muslims, and this is very common for the Dawa crowd, and the Gripers and all kinds of other groups, they're saying, look, the Talmud says you can have sex with a 3-year-old. When if you look at what's actually going on, they're talking about when someone, even a minor that someone has had sex with, is still considered a virgin, and they had a weird and false belief that if you are 3 or if you are like 3 or under, that even if someone molested you or something like that, that your hymen would be restored, and so you would still be a virgin. The hymen would repair itself. But that after the age of 3 years and a day, then after that, no, you lose the ability for your hymen to repair itself, and therefore she's no longer considered a virgin.
Even that is not necessarily the actual opinion of that rabbi, that actually happens. It could very well be, if you actually follow how rabbis argue in the Talmud, he could be making something up to justify why a girl who was molested at the age of 3 retains her full value for her marriage contract later on. It doesn't even mean that that rabbi even believes what he was saying. He's just saying that we should treat a girl who was molested at 3 as a virgin for the purposes of her marriage contract later on. It's a protection for the girl, then woman, for her marital status. It doesn't even imply that he even believes the thing about it growing back. Like, that's not even, you don't even take that at face value for the Talmud.
And so,
which is the big problem with Muhammad stealing so much from it and not knowing that.
Yeah. So you have that passage, and people go, "Oh, this is saying you can have sex with a 3-year-old." No, I mean, following your reasoning, it would be saying you can have sex with a 1-year-old because, and her hymen's just going to grow back, and therefore it's all fine. No, you're not allowed to have sex until marriage, and you're not allowed to be married until she grows up. And so, no, this would just be telling you about like the how to regard a girl with respect to her virginity and so on. If someone has done something to her, seduced her or forced himself on her or something like that, not saying that you can do this. So, so can we say conclusively that Sheikh Uthman is wrong, especially when he says, and they're going and saying that according to biblical principles, you can have sex with a 3-year-old. Yes, this is true. Is he just a complete idiot who has no clue what he's talking about?
Or he's lying. Those are the options.
Probably a combination of both.
Because he's been doing this for at least 3 years. I've seen videos, like whenever I made my video back on this Rebekah, being 3, he had a video from 3.5 years ago now. I don't know when he started doing the Rebekah's 3 argument, but it's been years. So he should know better. And yet he's still peddling it.
Well, you have to. What else is he going to do? Compulsive liar. All right. Let's see.
Is ready not just to be betrothed, not just for engagement, no, for intercourse. As Muslims, we don't believe that. But those criticizing us for the marriage of Aisha radiallahu anha, who waited until she was post-puberty to be consumed for marriage, they don't read this. And it's not just one-off. The Talmud discusses and affirms the Mishnah, the Babylonian Talmud, and I'm giving the references all here. He says, betrothed through intercourse ties to 3 years and 1 day old. Another reference here, it shows a girl 3 years and 1 day old.
By the way.
She's gone past the threshold where she can be married. Many halachic codifiers who codify Jewish law, he wrote, Rambam, Mishnah Torah, chapter 3, it says if she is 3 years and 1 day old, she may be in relations with her husband with the father's consent. And then the next reference here again, 3 days and 1 year old, and so on and so on. So this is not that Rashi had a one-off. This was the most fundamental commentary, scholarly work on the Old Testament, saying that according to the Old Testament, she was 3 years old. And then Jewish law was made off of that, where they said 3. I'm not saying every Jew took this view. I'm not saying that there weren't scholarly discussions, but this view did exist, no doubt.
He just said this view did exist.
Yeah.
This view did exist.
It did exist. There's like 6 people in history.
It existed. Therefore, this is what Christians are bound by.
Now we get some Christians that say, oh, but no Christian ever said that she was prepubescent. And they go on about, well, she brought water out for the guests. Now, listen to this rabbi. He will tell you that, yes, she brought water for the guests. And she was 3 years old. According to rabbis themselves. Listen to this.
A marriage of Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac was decades older than Rebekah was. How did that work?
Well, 2 things. Number one, the maturity of those times are much different than now. Even Rebekah was only 3 years old when she got married. A 3-year-old then was equal to, who knows, probably a 20-year-old today. The maturity level was much higher than it is today. It was not.
Okay, guys, he sounds like an idiot to me, unless you have some awesome interpretation that I'm not aware of. A 3-year-old is equal to a 20-year-old that time. But I guess he's a rabbi, so we have to go with it according to Sheikh Uthman and Muslims everywhere.
Do you know what it was like growing up in the Jewish community, even as an Orthodox Jew, and listening to rabbis who would say stuff like this, and you're sitting with your friends like, the shit is this guy talking about?
I can imagine. And I guess the comparison would be, there are all sorts of like wacky pastors out there and stuff with like saying some like really weird, dumb, off the wall stuff. It would be like just playing a clip of some weird pastor and then saying, you see, this is what Christians have to believe. But this is even more off the wall because it's a modern Jewish rabbi saying something that we can't see any real basis for it. And yet we're supposed to go along with this. And guess what? Sheikh Uthman's fans, they're like, wow, this is so powerful. This is the proof.
Do you know what the ironic part about this is? This rabbi undercuts Sheikh Uthman's argument because he says that Rebekah was a grown woman at the age of 3. So he's not saying that she was a child when they got married. He's saying that she was a grown woman when they got married. She just so happened to chronologically be the age of 3, but she was physically the age of 20. So he is saying that she was an adult. He just like, I don't know how he squares that in his mind, but in his mind, he's saying that she's an adult, basically, doing these things, getting married. So he is advocating for literal child marriage with Aisha, and he uses a rabbi that is advocating for adult marriage, but calling it child marriage. So it doesn't even work for his argument.
I mean, look at the guy. He's talking into a headset mic and holding a mic at the same time. Like, there's no logic going on in this video.
But you have to believe everything he says.
So stupid.
Hey guys, if you want to see
stupid.
more of the fruit of Dawa, here you have it for the 7,000th time. Allah, only amazing God says, what about Lot having sex with his daughters? Oh, in Christianity is nothing wrong with that. Allah, only amazing God.
It was Prophet Lot.
Allah, only amazing God. Do you have any idea how many layers of stupid this is? Right? So one, you're bringing in the idea that Lot is a prophet because he is in Islam. We don't believe he's not a prophet in the Bible. He's Abraham's nephew. That's his big role. He's Abraham's nephew. Do you think Christians believe do you think that Christians believe everything Abraham's nephew did is good? One, would you
don't even believe that about Abraham?
Yeah. Would you believe that anything we believe a prophet did, we believe is good? If so, that's stupid belief number 1. Stupid belief number 2, that we believe Lot is a prophet. Stupid belief number you could just go down the list of how dumb this is. Explain to us why you would say, is this okay? In Christianity, there's nothing wrong with that. Why would you think that we would affirm what happened? Keep in mind, Lot was the victim in the story. It was his daughters got him drunk. Why? Because if you read, they thought the rest of the world had been destroyed. They said there's no one else left, so we have to repopulate the earth. And if you really, that's just if you actually read the passage. If you really want to understand things, what you see is Abraham keeps trusting God. Lot tries to take the most convenient, easy way. And the story is about how that leads you on a path to where you end up in Sodom, right? You keep doing that, you end up in Sodom. And then it's also about how your children will start following you, trying to figure out things that Abraham's just like, hey, whatever God decides. And matter of fact, when Abraham and Lot are parting ways, Abraham says, you pick any way you want, and I'm just going to trust God for the rest. So Lot picks the easy way. He says, ooh, this is a really good place. And he goes down towards Sodom. And so he takes the easy way, ends up in Sodom, but he's still a pretty good guy in a bad place because he keeps taking the easy way. And then guess what? Then his daughters start kind of doing the same thing. We have to figure this out on our own, and we have to do this. And then the offspring, the children that are produced by that, they become the enemy. They become the enemies of the Israelites. And so it's like, this is what happens. This is what happens when you keep taking the wrong path. You guys don't see any of that because you're just, what? You just, do Christians believe that's fine? And you sound like freaking morons every single second. Why doesn't it bother you that you sound this stupid to everyone? Oh my goodness.
Even Rashi doesn't say that's okay.
Wild stuff.
The Ben-Ami is like basically the incest baby is kind of what his name means. So one of the kids is like the kid of my father, or like anyway. Interestingly, that passage is also teaching reaping what you sow. So Lot wanted to throw out his daughters for them to get raped by the angry mob, and then later on he is raped by his daughters in the cave. And then Sodom and Gomorrah, they're sowing all of this destruction and evil and all that, then God literally destroys them. So it's reaping what you sow. It's an object lesson in treating people the way you want to be treated.
And it's legitimately sad that Muslims can never learn any of this because they have this like superficial, my only understanding of anything is what I heard from a Dawa guy who doesn't understand anything else, but we just listen to him anyway. It's like, so like this just, it destroys your brain, guys, and you can't get away from it. You're like addicted to lies.
I have a little girl 3 years old. That wasn't the case at all. Even physically, she went through the water for all the camels. So she was a little girl 3 years old. How could she throw a little girl? So physically, she was certainly much stronger, and spiritually, and her maturity level was much stronger than the 3-year-old today. We can't compare it. That's number one. Number two,
So he's disagreeing
the whole
with Uthman.
idea of marriage was a lot different than today by many people. Marriage was not just getting together, enjoying each other, and having a good times. Those times, good times means getting together, serving God, having a family that's going to be a family of Torah and abiding by the laws of the Torah. That was what the purpose of marriage was, to have children, to bring them up according to Torah standards.
Now, we made it explicitly clear that Jewish scholars and rabbis and commentators agreed that she was 3 years old when she married a 40-year-old Isaac.
Did we see that?
Nope.
You can't go 10 seconds that way.
You posted a guy who said, okay, you Muslims are watching. Okay. Are there clips out there of Muslim sheikhs and stuff and imams from various parts of the world saying some really, really, really weird stuff? I don't care which sect of Islam you are from, you will say it. You will say that some of these other guys from some of these other groups are saying some really, 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 really weird, insane stuff. Imagine a Christian who takes some weird thing that someone said that has no basis in the text of the Quran, no basis in the Hadith, no basis in anything you actually believe. He says something just completely wild, and then the Christian says, see, we've shown that this is what Muslim scholars believe and that this is what the authoritative Muslim sources proclaim. Would you take me seriously would you take this guy seriously after that? Or would you say, why are these guys completely misrepresenting things? Okay, that's what he sounds like to us. You guys have some insane stuff in your sources. I mean, insane. And you have lots of Muslims around the world saying some insane stuff. Just imagine me taking that and saying, you see, this is the way it is in Islam. Dumb. Dawa is dumb, and it's for dumb people.
According to biblical tradition. Now, when we talk about...
According to biblical tradition. You could still just go chapter and verse, Sheikh Uthman, chapter and verse, but you can't. Biblical tradition. Chapter and verse for what you said. Oh, biblical principle say you can have sex with a 3-year-old. Where? Chapter and verse. You're a liar, dude. I'm trying to... I've been to prison. I've never met a liar who lies as much as Sheikh Uthman. Never in my life, ever, period. And the more you lie, the more popular you become in Dawa.
Christians, they say, oh, no Christians ever held this view. Really? Let's look at your screen. Baby Becky, a work written by Dr. William Ann Bailey. Dr. William Ann Bailey, professor of Hebrew
Wilma.
and Aramaic at the Christian Theological Seminary. She is a professor, a PhD, who teaches at a Christian seminary And she wrote this, and I'm putting this scan on the screen where she shows that Rebekah was a prepubescent child according to Christian sources.
According to Christian sources?
Yeah.
Rebekah as
She's
a young child is
Mennonite
likely
scholar.
Rebekah as a young child is likely meant to be understood to be a virgin, not because I can't read it, it's too small on the screen. It means virgin, but because she is a prepubescent child. So now this is the authority for Christians. Who was this?
Wilma, what was her name? I have it. Hold on. Let me just go up to the top of this document. Wilma Ann Bailey, Baby Becky, Monarchy and Prepubescent Marriage in Ancient Israel. So in this work, he's actually mischaracterizing her work as well. But she is a Mennonite scholar in not UC Berkeley, the whatever Bible school he mentioned. Then he also mentioned someone else and then mischaracterizes that person. But in this work, she actually goes through a bunch of ancient works and describes what the Greeks and the Jews and so on talked about the age of menstruation. And she says for the vast majority of them that it's actually like 25 to 26 years old before they actually were doing it back then. So she's actually given a case throughout the whole paper that the typical pattern of normal first period is anywhere from 18 to 21 in history. And then she says even in Leviticus, Leviticus assumes that 20 to 59 are the childbearing years. So from her perspective, what prepubescent is, according to the rest of her paper, is like a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 16-year-old. And she doesn't give an age. He's insinuating that she's agreeing that she's 3. She doesn't. She doesn't give an age as to how old she thinks Rebekah is. She seems to think that she's a teenager, but she is pushing puberty way into the late teens to early 20s for the rest of her paper. So you very well could say she's 16, and she might agree with that. So he's mischaracterizing this Christian scholar, and then he lies about the next dude and says that he's a Christian when he's a Jew.
So, first of all, guys, think about the methodology here. We will look for any paper by anyone ever who said Rebekah's prepubescent, and then you go to a paper which doesn't even say she was 3 or something like that, and then that's supposed to impress us and make us think, oh, okay, this must be the correct view because someone said it. Guys, Sheikh Uthman fans, I'm going to say this. Do not ever, and I mean ever, say, oh, that's a weak hadith with something again. Don't do it. Do not freaking do it. If you're going to say any random person that I've never heard of and no one I know of has ever heard of in my entire life says something, and then even with you twisting it, I have to just go along with that and make that my position, do not tell me, oh, but that hadith is weak. That hadith is weak. Do you have any idea how freaking lame this is to us? Any random person. Here's the thing, guys. You can find someone who said almost anything. Why would he go with this person? This is where he had to go to find someone who just thinks that Rebekah was prepubescent. That's how far he has to go, and he expects us to go along with it because he knows his followers are stupid. What's that, Ash?
So this reminds me of the show Justified.
Never saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the scene at in the first episode where Raylan goes back to his hometown and he meets this like hillbilly from Kentucky, and he was now running like a neo-Nazi gang basically.
Moonshine.
And the guy starts to tell him about like the Bible. He goes, and it is our God-given prerogative that we have to eradicate the Jews. And he goes, what? He goes, yeah, it's in your Bible. He goes, what? He says, yeah, in the beginning, Cain laid with the mud people. And from their fornications came forth the Edomites. Now you know who the Edomites are. They're the Jews. He goes, read your Bible as interpreted by experts.
That's what
That's what
Uthman
this
sounds like.
That's what this reminds me of.
The first like 2 or 3 seasons of that show is really good.
Wild stuff.
Shows that Rebekah was a prepubescent child, according to Christian sources here.
What Christian sources? She just says it, dude. What Christian sources?
An article, a single article,
a person,
in a single journal.
A person that none of us has ever heard of said it in an article. Like Sheikh Uthman, can I, if I find any Muslim who has said anything in any article, you will think that is binding for Muslims. Are you insane? You know you wouldn't do that. So you know what a liar you are, man. You will know it. You just know your fans are too stupid to realize it. But we're going to have to teach you, dude. We're going to have to teach you. This is what we're going to have to do. We're just going to have to find like the weakest, most absurd and insane hadith. And when they go, that's a weak hadith, I go, what are you talking about? Any random paper by any person ever, Sheikh Uthman says I have to follow it. This is so stupid, guys.
When she married Isaac. In fact, if we look at Robert Alter and other Christian authors, and I'm going to put a bunch of these references on the screen, they show that according to Christian theologists, professors,
theologists,
teachers, priests, those that wrote on this subject, they show that she was, according to their ideas, prepubescent when she married Isaac. I'm going to put other references here that show evidence. These are all from Christian sources. And you can go ahead
two
yourself.
2 Jews and 1 Christian.
2 Jews and 1 Christian.
Robert Alter. Yeah. Robert Alter is a Jewish scholar in the Jewish Studies Department at UC Berkeley. And she quotes him, but because a Christian quotes a Jew, he thinks the Jew is a Christian because he didn't do any research whatsoever on what he said in the video.
This is Dawa, guys.
Look at the Journal for Interdenominational Theological Center, and you can look at the references yourself. The Journal for Interdenominational.
What do you think when Muslims say this? What do you think are the odds that even one of their followers are actually going to go look up anything? Pretty much zero. They only say this to make themselves sound confident, hoping that no one actually goes and looks up anything.
Theological Center, Volume 37, published in 2011. Articles, Baby Becca, and you can find this by Professor Dr. William Ann Bailey, right there, Professor of Hebrew and Aramaic Scripture at the Christian Theological Seminary. Find it, read it yourself. And with references, you will find Christians who held the view that she was, in fact, prepubescent child. They used the word child when she was married to a 40-year-old Isaac. Jewish and Christian. Now, if we continue down that path, if we look at the age of Mary, how old was Mary? Now, you could say, well, the age of Mary is not in the Bible. Okay, I got you.
Neither's the age of Rebekah, buddy.
The age of Aisha, radiallahu anha, is not in the Quran. In fact, it's not even in a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. This is what we call a marfu hadith, yani a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says something or does something or approves of something.
Yeah, what you have is Aisha saying it over and over again and other people saying it about her. If they're all wrong, then great, your sources are garbage, dude.
That is marfu'. No such hadith exists. So that means not in the Quran and not in the words of the Prophet ﷺ. But
notice already the hypocrisy. Look, it's not in the Quran and it's not here. Okay, we've got hundreds of hadiths on it. But so what? And you're saying if some random person that we've never heard of writes an article, we have to go with it. Interesting.
Yeah, then he also uses the Infancy Gospel of James as the source for Christians, but that is an apocryphal work that everyone rejected by 405 AD. Like Pope Innocent I, in his letter to Exusbrius, full out rejected it. Jerome rejected it heavily, so much so that he denounced them for even saying it. And then the Pope, 80 years later, Pope Glacius, he also denounced it. So really early on, well before Islam, they were already denouncing the source as fake and as apocryphal. And yet it's still one section of it ends up in Surah 3, which is pretty funny. So this verified false document he is using as evidence for Christian belief that every single source, including the source he's about to quote, says is not true, and yet he still uses it.
Let's see.
Do have an
And
authentic
he
hadith from
mischaracterized what's in the book itself. It's wild.
Aisha radi anha. This is called a mawquf hadith, a stopped hadith, because
I'll
it's a
be right
statement
back.
of a sahabiyah. But if you're using these sources that are not in the Quran, then according to those same standards, when you look at Christian sources that are secondary sources, not in the Bible themselves, because the age of Mary's marriage is not mentioned in the Bible, as the age of Aisha radiallahu anha is not mentioned in the Quran.
Did you hear how stupid that was, guys? He said, if you're going to not use the Quran and go with secondary sources like the hadiths, then we can go to secondary sources. Dude, you believe in the hadiths. We don't believe in what you're quoting. We don't believe in those sources. Do you not understand the difference? And notice what you just said there. If you get to go to secondary sources, then we get to go to secondary sources. Okay, so what you should be saying is we get to go to what you regard as weak hadiths. We get to go to weak hadiths, things you don't believe are authoritative or necessarily even accurate, and we get to go to those because you're going to sources we don't believe in, right? He's saying it, right? Everything this guy says is a lie in some way. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Well, let's see.
Earliest sources we can find that clearly state her age. If you look in the Gospel of James, we find that she was
16.
12 years old.
Whoa, just lied. This one I've actually read, guys.
I pull it up if I have it up right now.
Yeah, says she was 12.
Bring my skin up.
Yeah, it says she was 12 in the temple when she was like married to Joseph and then consummated the marriage and stuff. She got pregnant. It says she was 16. He just said she was 12. 12 when? Liar. This would be like me saying, when Muhammad had sex with Aisha, she was 6. You'd say, what? She wasn't 6. She was 9 when it was consummated. Okay, that's what he just did, guys. That's what he just did. The source mentions her being 12 at a certain point. He says, it says right here, 12. That's what Daniel Hakicha, that's what all these clowns do. It says she was 12 at a certain point. Then it continues the story. When she actually is married and becomes pregnant, it says she's 16. They don't say that. At least, I don't think he's going to say it. He doesn't say it, does he?
Nope.
You want me to put up on the screen, or do they just take my word for it?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
I'll put up on the screen, then also show the Catholic Encyclopedia because he's about to go over that. So we'll just preempt that at the same time. And that's the last thing I have to show tonight.
All right. So, he's going to go to the Catholic Encyclopedia too? Dude,
Yeah,
that's like
already.
2015, man.
Yeah, but I have, and it still doesn't agree with
Wait,
them.
the
So I have
same
that pulled
Catholic
up as well.
Encyclopedia that says we don't know how old she was, and these are just what's it call them? Dreams or something like that about knowing the age.
Apocryphal.
Okay, here we go.
So we have specifically that when she turned 12, she started to bleed and they didn't want blood to get into the temple. So like, oh, look, now she's 12 years old. What do we do so she doesn't get blood in the temple? And then like, okay, well, let's go and find people who can protect Mary. So then they go to all the people and like, hey, let's all throw our staffs together. Then we'll like cast lots, which is in Surah 3. And then, Joseph's staff he's thrown in, then it budded. And then he was chosen. Or no, a dove came out of his staff. And then he was chosen for that. And he's like, hey, but I'm an old man. I already have kids. And they're like, no, you got to do it. So they get, married, quote unquote. But then he goes out and she is like serving in the temple still. And she's like doing this really elaborate sewing for the temple. And so she's not even living with him. Like she has a house, but she's basically by herself because Joseph is like on the road. So she's not even with Joseph. She doesn't have any intercourse with him at all.
Yeah, and
just
that's
undercutting
what,
Uthman's point again.
Yeah, that's what you get from the story. By the way, it's that Mary is supposed to be by the way, guys, as part of the main idea here is Mary's perpetual virginity, right? And
I was going to say, does he not know what Catholics believe about that?
Yeah, and so it's so Mary was selected to be kind of set apart for God, but they realized someone needs to take care of her. She can't live in the temple anymore, so we need someone to take care of her. And it's funny because they're like, the lot falls to Joseph, and Joseph's like, dude, they're going to think I'm a freaking creepy old pervert if I marry this young girl. And they say, you got to do it anyway, man. You got to do it anyway. But the idea is they want someone to take care of her. without having sex with her. He's like, but people are still going to get the wrong idea. And they're like, we got to do it anyway. And so, but notice it's assumed that if you married a 12-year-old, you would be a creepy pervert to these people.
Yeah, this is the fourth time he's quoted a source. This is the fourth time he's quoted a source that's undermined his argument. So not only does it say that she was 16 years old whenever these mysteries happened to her, whenever she got pregnant, but then it says that Joseph came from his house into her house and found her pregnant, and then he was super upset and was like, oh, how could this have happened? You know, I was supposed to take care of her, and then how in the world did she get pregnant? Obviously, because he's not having intercourse with her.
Yep.
So even the source he's quoting from,
even when she's 16,
even when
still
she's 16, he's not having intercourse with her, and yet he's using this as the source to show that 12-year-old marriage and intercourse is fine when they don't have intercourse, and she's not 16 when she gets pregnant. But then you go to the Catholic Encyclopedia, and it doesn't even agree with him at all. So on the entry of, I think this one is Joseph.
Yeah,
this one's Joseph. The next one is Mary. So. In Joseph, it says, it was probably a Nazareth that Joseph betrothed and married her when she was to become the mother of God. And when the marriage took place, whether before or after the incarnation, is no easy matter to settle. And on this point, masters of exegesis have at all times been at variance. Most modern commentators, following the footsteps of St. Thomas, understand that at the epoch of the Annunciation, the Blessed Virgin was only affianced to Joseph. They were only betrothed. St. Thomas notes this interpretation suits better all the evangelical data, which I agree with. Which also be why she's not ever virgin, but different debate. It will not be without interest to recall here, unreliable though, that the lengthy stories concerning St. Joseph's marriage contained in the apocryphal writings. When 40 years of age, Joseph married a woman called Mecha or Eska by some, Salome by others. They lived 49 years together and had 6 children, 2 daughters and 4 sons, the youngest of whom was James. A year after his wife's death, and the priest enunciated in Judea that they wished to find in the tribe of Judah a respectable man to espouse Mary. Then 12 to 14 years of age, Joseph, who was at the time 90 years old, went up to Jerusalem among the candidates. A miracle manifested the choice of God, made Joseph. And 2 years later, the Annunciation took place. So now this is 16.
You already get that?
These dreams
12
at
to
St. Jerome
14.
Styles.
12 to 14, and then 2 years later,
which would put her at 16 from the 14, and then these dreams in St. Jerome styles them, from which many a Christian artist has drawn his inspiration, and then it keeps going. They are without void of authority.
They are void of authority, guys.
It is crazy. Void of authority, apocryphal, unreliable. Then you get to the Mary one, and it is exactly the same thing. So you still get that when she was 14, I think, what was it? Yeah, here it is. No. Here it is. In the apocryphal writings, to which we referred in the last paragraph, state that Mary remained in the temple after her presentation in order to be educated with other Jewish children. There she enjoyed ecstatic visions and daily visits of the holy angels. When she was 14, doesn't even mention 12 here, the high priest wished to send her home for marriage. Mary reminded him of her vow of virginity, and in his embarrassment, the high priest consulted the Lord. Then he called all the young men of the family of David and promised Mary in marriage to him whose rod should sprout and become the resting place of the Holy Ghost in form of a dove. It was Joseph who privileged in this extraordinary way. We have already seen that St. Gregory of Nicaea, St. Germanus of Constantinople, and Pseudo-Gregory of Nicene seem to adopt these legends. Besides, the Emperor Justinian allowed a basilica to be built on the platform of the former temple in memory of Our Lady's stay in the sanctuary. The church was called the New St. Mary, and so as to distinguish it from the Church of the Nativity, it seems to be the modern Mosque El Asq. On the other hand, the church is silent as to Mary's stay in the temple. St. Ambrose, describing Mary's life before the Annunciation, supposes expressly that she lived in the house of her parents. All the descriptions of the Jewish temple, which can claim any scientific value, leave us in ignorance as to any localities in which young girls might have been educated. So this doesn't exist in archaeology. Josias' stay in the temple till the age of 7 does not favor the supposition that young girls were educated within sacred precincts. Again, we have no archaeology for this. For Joas was king and was forced by circumstances to remain in the temple. What 2 Maccabees 3:19 says about the virgins were also shut up does not show that any of them were kept in the temple buildings, so they were not temple virgins. If the prophetess Anna said not to have departed from the temple by fasting and prayer and serving it day and night, we do not suppose that she actually lived in one of the temple rooms. So again, not like Mary. As the house of Joachim and Anna was not far distant from the temple, we suppose that the Holy Child Mary was often allowed to visit the sacred buildings in order to satisfy her devotion. So this is the not at all. So this entire explanation is not at all in line with the infancy gospel of James, and it actively says that we do not have any reason to believe the actual story of the infancy gospel of James, and it calls for 14 during this event. So he's about to lie about the Catholic Encyclopedia, and both entries on the matter do not agree with him or with the infancy gospel of James. So he is just straight lying about all of these sources.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, he is a chronic compulsive liar, but it's crazy because he's been corrected on that over and over again. I posted videos going through that and so on. He's still saying it. And that just means he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. All right, let's finish this video. Let's see.
12 years old. The Catholic Encyclopedia and other books have also...
Again, do you see what he just did, guys? He opens it up and says she was 12 years old. Yeah, it lists her as 12 years old when she was in the temple. When she becomes pregnant, says she was 16. He makes it sound like everything was at 12. And again, the story's about how she never had sex.
I want to show you another work, Historia Josephia Fabria Lingeraria. This is the earliest biography of Joseph, the husband of Mary. I challenge Christians to find a complete biography earlier than this. 6th century, and what does it say? And this is in Latin, Greek, in Coptic Arabic, and so on. It mentions Maryam, yani Mary, being 12 years old, consistent with what we found in other early Christian sources. She was 12 years old.
When she was in the temple. Thank you. Now, when did she become pregnant, dude?
Married to Joseph, who was how old? According to this work right here, Joseph was 40 when he first got married. Then he was married for 49 years. So that is 89. When his wife was dead, he waited another year, which makes him 90 years old when he married Mary. So a 90-year-old, according to your own early traditions, married a 12-year-old. What would you call that today? Right? So,
wait. So even if we're granting everything you're saying, this is a guy who's just, according to the stories, he's taking care of her and not ever having sex with her. So what would we call that?
Nothing.
What do you call it? What do you call? Yeah, a guy who.
I think the word is saint.
Yeah, a guy who
father-in-law
takes in a girl to take care of her and never has sex with her. Can you imagine Muhammad doing that, taking in a girl and not having sex with her? Of course not.
The issue is we should come to an agreement.
He's also lying about that. So the earliest biography we have of the account are the Gospels, which don't have this at all. But even the work he's quoting from right there is from the mid 500s to late 600s. Before that work was written, we already had church fathers that rejected it. Jerome, we have 2 different popes, and we have a variety of bishops and a variety of writings. So the official position from the church was that it was false, but it became popular because early on they thought it was actually part of the canon. It was around like 150 years that they believed it was fine to use. And during those years, it got really ingrained into the psyche of the church. But before that work was written, it was already shown to be false. And they were commanded to stop using it. But because it was already like pop culture to believe in that story, it was in this biography. But the literal authorities, the popes, would have disagreed with the author who wrote that. So why use it? Why quote it?
Because how they work is they decide what they want to be the case, and they go out and cherry pick anything they can twist into agreeing it. And it doesn't matter if it's something we don't believe in. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's you decide what you want ahead of time and then go find something that you can twist into agreeing with you. And that's just their message. That's what they have to do that's just their method. They have to do that with Muhammad in the Bible, right? Right. You got Muhammad in the Bible. According to the Bible, Muhammad's a false prophet. So what do? You have to just like cherry pick verses and stuff like that, try to twist them and so on. So that's their method with everything. It's how they treat the Quran, right? It's how they treat their hadiths. You decide what you want to proclaim as the Dawa guy, and you go to that and twist it into something. And like all the verses in the Quran that affirm our scriptures, what do they do with them? Well, they'll look for one that they can twist into saying something else. It's just, gosh, guys, what does it take for you to realize you are not following the truth? Well, let's see.
A girl who's prepubescent, who's a child, who hasn't hit puberty, should not be married, right? She should wait until her body is physically ready and her mind is mentally ready. We cannot go back in time and criticize people for something that they didn't have high school and college and these things to wait for. So when a woman's body was physically ready, for example, have her menses or so on, they would get her married. A man, when he was able to physically go out and work, he would go out and work. They didn't say it was child labor, right? So we cannot judge those times by today's standards.
But we can lie constantly.
Noting that we should live by today's standards, meaning that if the local customs is that you wait till you're 18, wait till you're 18.
If the local custom is that you can drink alcohol, then drink alcohol.
That's fine.
If the local custom says to eat pork, eat pork.
That is mental maturity and physical maturity. But if we look at biblical views of Rebekah, we've proven that according to Rashi and many other Jewish scholars and Christian scholars, she was a child.
We saw many Christian scholars.
One out of context.
Yeah, we saw one Mennonite woman that we've never heard of out of context.
She was prepubescent. According to Rashi and others, Jewish law was made that a 3-year-old, one day after that, could get married and have intercourse based on that. But we have
not what it said.
Condemned that. I don't take that view. But I will quote this with evidences from Jewish sources and Christian sources so that you cannot hypocritically criticize something without looking at your own backgrounds.
Yeah, we're hypocrites, guys. Guys, here's what's crazy. You could grant literally every single lie he told. You could grant it all, right? You could say, Rebekah was 3 when Isaac married her and so on. Would we be hypocritical for condemning Muhammad, the pattern of conduct for Muslims, having sex with a 9-year-old? No, we'd say Isaac was wrong and we'd say Muhammad was wrong. There would be no hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is saying one thing and doing something else. This guy's stupid.
So in summary, Aisha radiallahu anha was married at an age that she had passed puberty and was mature enough to...
Still, did we get any source on that apart from him saying... Yeah, apart from him saying that it's in the sources and then the actual sources that he named? Because he said hadith and he said Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Both of them say prepubescent. And the Quran says prepubescent.
Consummate her marriage in accordance with the customs of her time. Rebekah, in accordance to Jewish tradition, not just Rashi, but multiple sources, and Christian tradition, was a child. And Rashi has clarified that she was 3. And Jewish law quantified that a 3-year-old one day after can get married according to the Old Testament, the Bible.
Married.
We can
That's weird because they said no minor marriage. That's
the
just
Old
weird.
Testament of the Bible. You just said according to the Old Testament of the Bible, 3-year-olds can get married. So he doesn't know what the Talmud is. He thinks the Talmud is the Old Testament.
By the way,
he's literally Muhammad.
If I'm not mistaken, and we could look this up afterwards, but I'm pretty sure Maimonides, as well as other sources, talk about a situation where if a young girl who's not ready to be married yet is betrothed ahead of time by her father, and then the father dies, she retains her right to refuse the marriage even though the father can't approve it, which would imply by default that somebody who is under that age cannot get married under any circumstances, and it has to be fully consensual at that point. So what's he talking about? Jewish law and Jewish tradition?
I think even in Kedushin, in the passage I brought up earlier, later on it says that a woman reserves the right to veto a marriage once she reaches the age of maturity. So even if the father's alive, she still has that right.
All right, well, these are the last little bit here.
And that we cannot hide it. According to Christian traditions, the earliest traditions that we find, Mary was 12 years old when she married a 90-year-old Joseph.
Really? I must have missed that.
Now, we can condemn that, but we cannot hide it. And we would not accept that today. That is something from the past. So leave these useless attacks alone. The Islamic belief is clear. The Islamic aqidah makes sense. One God, one creator that sent the prophets with the...
And he sends people to defend it who do nothing but lie, because, you know, that proves that Islam is the truth.
Same message, never said to worship men and never confuse three and one. The Islamic belief is so pure that you have nothing you can debate with except to bring up these false allegations against the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Nothing we can debate with. Why are you running from God logic, man?
On him. When
is this the
your
guy who's
own
running from God
traditions...
Logic?
What's that?
Is this the guy that's running from God
Yes,
Logic?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Zutran.
Yeah. All right, last couple seconds here.
So much worse than that, which you hide. Leave those alone. Have fruitful discussions. Learn about the Islamic belief. Accept the truths of Islam. Don't hide behind slander you cannot prove.
Well, that was all super powerful, guys. Super powerful.
It's very ironic that he ended with "Don't hide behind slander you can't prove."
His entire presentation was lies, and this is just absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh, need to go take a shower after watching Sheikh Uthman. It's disgusting. Ugh, grimy. Take these last super chats, and then you have final thoughts on anything. Isa, stop making the stream cut out. That's from earlier, right after that. Even if she was 3 years old, it stated 20 years passed before she had a child with Isaac, which she would at least be, which we should be at least 23 years old. Just paying my jizya to Isa, don't know how to spell his name. Jizya to the Muslim guy. Jizya to the Muslim guy. Fairu really thinks that repetition equals truth. That's a problem in Dawa. Anyone who says anything is basically, that's the proof. I just can't trust a religion that encourages its adherents to lie. A religion that describes its God as the greatest of deceivers. Yep. Notice the implications. Notice the consequences that has on the community. Uthman got lost on derivatives in his age calculus. It makes sense Muslims think that Christians follow the Talmud because Muslims claim no prophet came between Jesus and Muhammad, yet they follow Jewish laws that became established post-Jesus ascension. That sounds exactly like what Chris here says.
Mm-hmm.
Rashi used the magic disappearing Torah. Checkmate. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Sorry, but according to Islam, I'll need at least 3 women to come to an agreement. There you will. Whatever super chat we abrogate or YouTube causes to be forgotten, we bring one better than it or the like thereof, except the ones eaten by a sheep. Some people may not get that. Those who are familiar, they know what that's about. Do a video. Which dawa lie the best per minute? Oh yeah. Hey, you should pick like 3 or 4 different videos, like a hijab video, a Sheikh Uthman video, an Ali Dawa video, and have a lie counter and compare and see who lies the most per minute. That would be funny. Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? Sheikh Uthman. That's good. I found some random Redditor on a Christian subreddit that also believes Rebekah was 3. So you see, Christian sources agree. By the way, it's a little side problem. So many Dawa clowns can be telling you something and you don't question it and you just think they're telling you something accurate. And it's not. LCUT 6395, authentic, right? I don't know. What is that? Just check real quick. See what pops up. LCUT.
I'm really concerned that Uthman is bethrottling so many children.
Yeah, why you bethrottling all those kids, man? Quit bethrottling all those kids, man.
And letting them be consumed in marriage.
Let's see. Citation, Al-Suyuti 3 refers to a narration of Imam Al-Suyuti's tafsir, often associated with work, blah, 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 blah. Which claims Prophet Muhammad will marry... Prophet Muhammad will marry Mary, mother of Jesus, and Asiya, wife of Pharaoh, in paradise. Yeah, scholars generally consider these narrations weak or rejected. Too late.
It's
You don't get to
absolutely
say that anymore.
authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
That's
and you
what
can't
Islam
question
believes.
it. You can't question it, or you're a hypocrite.
Yeah,
It would
Muhammad
be
gets all
nice.
the best virgins of history, according to that.
Yeah. It would be nice if Muslims who claim to have read the Bible actually took the time to understand what the Bible actually says. No chance. Isn't Aisha a primary source for her own age? Yeah, that's why he's like completely, oh, it's not from Muhammad. It's not from Muhammad. Well, Aisha telling her own age, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't trust that. Most egregious liar, Uthman or Malik?
Uthman. Malik is willing to snitch and tell the truth.
I'll say this. Sheikh Uthman's like lying about his sources, our sources, everything. He's lying about all that stuff. Malik's just lying about like what this person said and what this person did most of the time. So kind of different categories
Wait,
of lying.
David, you said that snitches and pedos are like the worst things in prison, right?
Yeah.
But what if you're snitching on the pedos like Malik does?
Well, he might be one, and he's also a snitch, so he might be both categories.
Yeah, if you were snitching on someone, yeah, if you were telling like inmates what someone is doing and that someone is a pedo, yeah, they give you a pass on that one. they give you a pass on that one. So
Good job, inmates.
let's see. Kalas, my bad. Kalas, my bad. Yeah, it's Sheikh Uthman. Wow, the mental gymnastics this guy uses, the whole argument just to justify their false prophet, skeet be upon him. That is the issue, guys. This is all. Why are they doing this? Why are they lying about the Bible, lying about scholars, lying about prophets and so on? Why? All to defend the most obvious false prophet in history. Untruth Man said, consumed in marriage. His English is as good as his Arabic. Yeah, I heard his Arabic sucks. Rebekah is 3 because that's why. Islam's logic. That's right. Rebekah was 3 because we need her to be so we can defend Muhammad. Quran 65:4 recognizes prepubescent remarriage. Tried sending a perfect hadith earlier and YouTube rejected it. Lol. Yeah, and guys, keep in mind that is prepubescent remarriage. It's a girl who's already married, even though she's prepubescent. And how long does the prepubescent girl have to wait until she's remarried? Absolutely sick stuff. And they try to saddle us with this nonsense so they can feel better about their fake prophet. Oh, disgusting. All right, guys. Final thoughts or anything you want to share, or anything you want to point people towards? Anything you got coming up?
Nope, that pretty much covers it. I was going to make a joke about how my wife's Jewish and she made me roasted lamb shoulder and now my chest is hurting, but you
know. I have a bunch of stuff on the Talmudic dilemma coming out soon. I will hopefully be doing a stream with IP on it, although he has not gone back to me yet. So if you want to...
I can lean on him.
IP, if you're watching.
I can lean on him.
I can also message Stan. I can contact him. But do you want me to give like a quick 3-minute rundown of why Rebekah's not 3 according to the Bible?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Since we didn't do that in the stream yet. So basically she's called only words that are used of older women, such as Nora, Alma, Beltua, Isha. And she's not called a yalda, which is the word for child. So she is not called a child, but she's called a young woman in 4 different ways. She can water 10 camels, so that's around 2,000 liters of water, which is not an insane, for an adult, it's not an impossible feat, but it's something that no child could possibly do without having all of the atrophy in their body, just falling apart. She's also veiling, which is a practice of women who are pubescent, who are wanting to veil themselves before their husbands. So she decides to veil at that moment in time, which is not something that she would be doing. She has a nurse, which wealthy women at the time would have nurses to help with their children. Not that she herself needed a nurse, but that since she was going to have kids, she needed a nurse. And then her son stayed with a nurse for many decades after. So even after Rebekah died, he was still with his nurse, indicating that the nurse was around the same age as Rebekah, not significantly older. not old enough to like take care of her. That wouldn't work whatsoever. She could make the own decision that she wanted to marry him, and she was able to go do chores on her own without a chaperone. All of that would show that she was an adult, not a child. And then to the timeline itself, nothing in the Hebrew actually indicates that she was born at that period of time. We actually have reason to think she wasn't born at that period of time. And it says explicitly that they had intercourse that night in his mom's, maybe in his mom's tent. I remember on 24 there, but they have intercourse specifically. It says that he took her. That's a euphemism for intercourse. So she was able to do it without being injured right then and there. So all of that seems to indicate that she is an adult, not a child.
But maybe you didn't understand. They need her to be a child because they need it. They need it to defend Muhammad, who had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old. Hey, look at this. I'm just going to assume this is trolling. Yusuf Al-Muhidi. Islam is the one and only true religion, whether you like it or not. And if I am lying, I dare you to give me one single mistake, error, falsehood in the Quran. You can't. That's what I thought. I'm assuming you're trolling because this is, although you guys do sound like this. Oh, my goodness. You got the sun setting in a muddy pool. You've got Alexander the Great being a devout Muslim. The guy was as pagan as possible. You've got
Haman building a tower for Pharaoh.
You've got stars or missiles that Allah uses to shoot demons when they try to sneak into paradise and hear his prayers. You've got semen forming between the backbone and ribs. You've got Jesus not dying on the cross, according to the majority interpretation and so on. Dude, it's a total disaster. So, in case you were serious.
I had a guy come on my channel, I think was at first pretending to be an Orthodox Jew, like arguing with me about Judaism versus Christianity. Turns out I think he was a Muslim. And he said to me,
oh, yeah,
Jesus was not really crucified. It was his brother, Thomas Christ. And Jesus fled to India and became like a monk. Or something like that.
Was that your stream with Eduardo, or is that a different stream?
No, this is like months ago. Somebody posted this comment about the brother Thomas Christ, and I'm like, did you say Thomas Christ? You think that's like a last name, like a family name?
Yeah. The Christ family. The Christs down the street, right? Oh, yeah. Good family name. Yep, they were all. There was Joseph Christ, Mary Christ. Yeah, the whole Christ family. Awesome stuff. James Christ. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Took longer than I thought, but that just happens with some of these Dawa videos where it's a lie every 5 seconds and you and you barely scratch the tip of the iceberg with all the lies these guys tell. All right, guys, see you all tomorrow. Lord willing, we'll start going through Lady Logic, Christina's debate against 12 Muslim women. Definitely want to check that out. Catch y'all later. Oh, by the way, side note, links to Chris's and Ash's channels are in the description, and got a link to Chris's video on the Talmudic dilemma. You want to like that, watch that, share that, and yep, check out the channels, guys. These guys have a lot of content. All right, catch y'all later.